All right, shalom, shalom. Shalom to the 12 tribes. All praise to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Hope those of y'all who are observing Sabbath today are having a peaceful one in the spirit. Y'all let me know if you could hear me, because I'm going to try and do it with my camera on. If not, if it's breaking up, then I'll go ahead and turn the camera off, right? Like I normally do. I'm trying it through my phone since my Wi-Fi is pretty slow. As some of y'all know, I have satellite Wi-Fi, so Tribe of Levi, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom if you're observing it today. If not, Shalom, Ashar. Have a good day, right? Either way, I hope you're having a good one in the spirit. Dre, Shalom, Ak. Loud and clear. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. It's freezing. Khan. I got my heater on right now, right next to me. I got a gas heater. Keeps this house nice and warm. I got a few of them. WG Kill Switch. Shalom, Ak. Shalom. 1, 2, 3. Showing like there's about a handful of people in here right now. So I guess I'll go ahead and get it started. The brother Jomar is not going to be able to jump on today. So if any of y'all want to post the verses as I'm going through it, y'all can. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. I can't since I'm doing it through my phone, right? So first off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, as always. And as some of y'all may have seen, like I said, we're going to go over Proverbs chapter 21. Every Sabbath from now on, Most High willing, unless something like real serious comes up, I'm going to start doing chapter lives like I used to at one point in time, just because to show y'all the power of precepts, right? To show y'all the power of precepts. Precepting your Bible is a very important thing to do, and it will benefit you in getting a better understanding, right? Like it says in Isaiah, the 10th chapter, it says that precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. So I'm starting in Hebrew, or Salakia, I'm starting in Hebrews, the 10th chapter, which is why I said Isaiah 10. So I'm going to start in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25. It says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching. Right? So there's 7 people now. Brandon Young, Shalom Ak. Javier Cano, Shalom Ak. Troke Boa, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom Ak. So we are not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together right now, as the manner of some is, by coming together right now and studying with one another, right? Whether it be one other person in here, or whether it be 10, 20, 30, 100 people, it doesn't matter. We're not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as we see the day approaching, right? We need to be exhorting one another. And exhorting basically is like peer pressuring each other into this, right? When we were in the world, we were peer pressuring each other to do all manner of wickedness. Here, hit this, right? Smoke this. Let's go out and drink. Let's go and fornicate and do this, that, and the other. We need to be doing that same thing, right? We need to be provoking our brothers and sisters to follow this word, right? So we're going to start in Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 1. And like I said, we're going to be hitting precepts maybe probably every verse, most high willing. Right? Brandon Young, Bryant Reed, Shabbat Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. Right? So we're going to start Proverbs 21 and 1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. Right? So the king's heart, we don't have a king here in the United States, but what do we have? We have a president, right? We have all these senators and we have all these people that have rulership, governors and mayors, and that those type of rulers, those type of kings, right? Modern day kings. And just like Putin is the so-called king or president of Russia, and we have rulers here. The Most High is, their hearts are in the Most High's hands, and He is making them to do all of these different things. Why? So His will can come to pass, right? So that Elena C. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, sis. So that all of these things can come to pass, right? So that all, it's like Isaiah 34:16 says, not one of these prophecies is going to fail, because the Most High is the one who said it's going to happen, and He's in control of everything. So He's controlling certain kings and certain people's minds to do certain things and to make certain moves, like what we see going on with Ukraine and Russia and Iran and even China and Taiwan, all these things that are coming to pass. All of these people's hearts are in the hand of the Most High. And just like He can turn the rivers of water, He can make it flow this way, He can make it flow that way. He's making people's minds to flow in certain directions. And just like Daniel 12:10 says, many shall be purified and made white and tried, right? A lot of people, the Most High is turning their mind to be purified. A lot of people, He's turning their mind to wickedness. He's giving them over to that reprobate mind, right? So verse 2, every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but Yahweh pondereth the heart, right? So everybody thinks he's doing the right thing, right? Kanak, the ox said, that's right, everything happens for a reason. The Most High makes everything happen for a reason, right? So verse 2, every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but Yahweh pondereth the hearts, right? And I was talking to actually a sister about this. When it comes to certain brothers teaching, right? When it comes to certain brothers teaching, they may think in their own mind that they're doing the right thing, right? But Yahweh ponders your heart. He looks upon your mind. He looks upon what's the reason why He's really doing this, right? And if you're doing it in a prideful, from a prideful mind, from a high-minded sense, from a prideful spirit, then it doesn't matter if you think you're doing the right thing. You could be out here teaching, thinking, oh yeah, I'm so righteous teaching, blah, blah, blah. But then you're doing it in the wrong spirit. You're doing it in a prideful spirit, right? And the Most High isn't dealing with that. So I'm going to go to chapter 16, Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 2. It says, all the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weigheth the spirits, right? So you may think you're doing the right thing, just like Christians, right? Christians think they're doing the right thing by going to church every Sunday, by listening to what pastor says to do. They think that what they're doing is clean. It's the right thing to do. But the Most High knows your mind. He knows your spirit, right? You think that all I have to do is just believe in Christ and I'm saved, right? I'm a Christian, but what does Christian mean? Christian means to be Christ-like, right? If you live in California your whole life and then you come to Texas and you live here for a few years and now they call you a Texan. Why? Because you're starting to live like a Texan, right? A Christian is someone to live Christ-like. So if you're going to live Christ-like, what did Christ always do? He kept the commandments, right? He always kept the commandments. So if you're a Christian or call yourself a Christian, how are you following His example and calling yourself a Christian if you're not even keeping the commandments like He did, right? He kept the holy days. He kept the Sabbath, etc. So Proverbs 16 and 2, one more time. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weigheth the spirits. And like I said before, there's certain brothers and even sisters trying to teach out here, and they think they're doing the right thing. Yeah, I'm teaching the word, this, that, and the other. But they're teaching in the spirit of pride, and the Most High sees that, right? And He's not dealing with that. So back to Proverbs 21 and 3, it says, to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice. Okay, now this is something we all have to understand. Very, very important. Okay, very important. It says to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice. Okay, I've talked to certain brothers and sisters lately and in the past. Okay, confirmation, yes. The Most High gives us confirmation, right? Isaiah 55 and 11, His word goes out and accomplishes what He wants it to accomplish, when he wants it to be accomplished, right? So to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice. I talked to or heard from many brothers and sisters, and they say, well, I'm giving up this and I'm giving up that. I'm going to drinking soda for the Most High. I'm going to get off of social media. I'm going to fast from social media for the Most High, making that sacrifice, right? But this right here says to do justice and judgment. How do you do justice? It's like they say justice is served, right? They say that here in the United States, which justice is not really served, not by the Most High standards, but I'll digress on that. Justice, doing justice according to the Most High is following what he says to do, right? So when it says to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice, there's no point in you sacrificing, okay, I'm going to stop drinking wine, right? Or I'm going to stop eating meat that is allowed, right? Clean meat. Or I'm going to get off of social media. Is there any law that says you have to do this? No, right? But you're going to make that sacrifice. Okay, but that's not what the Most High is asking of you. So now I'm not saying don't do that, right? But what I'm saying is if you're going to do this, you better make sure you're listening to the Most High in the first place, right? I'm going to go to 1 Samuel 15 and 22. It says, and Samuel said, hath Yahweh as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, right? To obey is better than sacrifice. You can sacrifice anything you want, right? Like I said, you could say, I'm going to stop eating this kind of food because it's bad for me, but it's lawful, right? The Most High didn't say you have to give that up. I'm gonna fast from food, right? I'm not gonna eat for 2 days, 3 days. But the Most High says it's better to obey than to sacrifice, right? So you better make sure if you're gonna fast, which like Matthew 17:21 says, if you have a spirit on you, praying and fasting is how you get rid of it, right? But what people don't understand is that fasting is not just not eating, right? Fasting is fasting from certain things that are causing you to go off. For example, if you say, man, I've been fornicating, right? Or I've been doing things that are lustful, and I need a fast to get that lustful spirit off of me, right? So you're like, I'm not going to eat for 2 days. I'm not going to eat for 3 days. But then you're still hanging around the people that are causing you to fornicate or be in that lustful spirit. Then you're not really fasting, right? Or if you're like, you are not being set apart, right? Leviticus 20 and 26 and many other verses, that's a law, right? To be set apart, to be holy. If you're not going to follow that, then why are you going to fast in the first place? You're making this sacrifice of fasting from something, whether it be food or drink or whatever the case may be, right? But you're not obeying the Most High's voice in the first place. Salaki, cut off for a second. Elena C, until you fully submit to Yahweh, you are not ready to teach, in my opinion. Khan, I agree with you 100%, sis. You shouldn't be teaching because that's, let me get Proverbs 11 and 1 real quick. This Proverbs 11 and 1. A false balance is an abomination to Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight, right? A false balance is an abomination to Yahweh. So by you teaching, you are held by the Most High to a higher standard, okay? It's just like the priests. Not saying that I would never claim to be a priest or nothing like that, but the priests back in the days, they had more strict laws, right? Like, for example, they weren't supposed to eat the fat of animals. They weren't supposed to eat the blood, which that's a law for everybody. They were only allowed to marry virgins. They couldn't marry women that were divorced, etc., right? You're held to a higher standard by the Most High if you're teaching, right? Because he that called us is holy, so be ye holy. Khan, exactly. The Most High is holy, right? And when you look into the definition of holy in the Hebrew, it means set apart, it means sanctified, right? So if the Most High, or let's put it this way, if Yahushai, because we know Yahushai was holy, right? If Yahushai was not set apart from wickedness, and he was hanging around, he was always around, his disciples were murderers and thieves and etc., how would that look, right? And now some people will point to where it says he sat with the sinners, right, and he ate with them. But what was he doing the whole time he was sitting with them? He was preaching the word to them, right? So this is why I've heard certain brothers, yeah, well, Yahushai did it, so we can do it. We can still be around these people that are sinning and this, that, and the other. The only way that you should be around people like that is how, or is to do what? Is to be giving them the word, right? He wasn't staying around them all the time. He would go, he would preach to them, and then he who had ears would hear, he who had eyes would see what he was actually talking about, and they would start living it out. And then he would move on and he go preach to other people, right? So you can't be around wickedness. You have to be holy as he is holy. Like the light is set apart from the darkness. That's how we are supposed to be moving in these days, especially in these last days, right? So I'm gonna go back to Proverbs 21. This is Proverbs 21 and 3 one more time. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice. So before you start making these little sacrifices and doing these little things for the Most High, you got to ask yourself, am I obeying? Right? I always ask people, well, is there any precepts? Is there any laws that you know you're going against right now? Right? When I'm counseling with brothers and sisters, and if they say yes, okay, what is it? Talk about it. Okay, you need to be examining yourself on that daily. Okay, you know you're still doing this and it's against the scriptures. You need to get right with that before you start making these different sacrifices, right? And as a matter of fact, let me go to Sirach 34. I believe it's 26. 34, 34 and 26. It says, so is it with a man that fasteth for his sins, and goeth again and doeth the same. Who will hear his prayer? Or what doth his humbling profit him? Right? So if you go and fast for your sins, I'm going to fast from food. I'm going to fast from video games. I'm going to fast from cursing. I'm going to fast from social media, etc. Right? It says, so is it with a man that fasteth for his sins and goeth again and doeth the same. Who will hear his prayer? And what doth his humbling profit him? What was the point in fasting, right? And then you get off the fast and you do the same thing again, right? You fast and you humble yourself to do that fast. What does it profit you if you just go do the exact same thing all over again, right? And that's why it says to be obedient is better than sacrifice. So to be obedient to his word is better than to be sacrificing these things that the Most High doesn't require of you as a law specifically, right? So this is Proverbs 21 and 4. It says, a high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin, right? A high look and a proud heart. It's like I've said many times before. If any of y'all caught it on any of the lives of some of the lessons I've done, I remember when me and a few brothers would go out and teach a couple years back, right? And a brother mentioned it, right? And he wasn't talking specifically about me. He was talking about somebody else or another camp, etc. And he was saying it's crazy to me how some brothers teach with that high look. They teach with like from a prideful spirit, right? And when he said that, he was talking about somebody else, but I kind of thought about it to myself, and I was like, man, I'm gonna go back and watch some of these videos from me and some other brothers, And it was like I saw that in myself, and I saw that in the brothers that I was with, right? So I had to take them down because I could see that on me, and I didn't want to be portraying or showing that, because what happens is people see you doing something and they copy it, right? That spirit can cleave to you, like it says in Psalm 101:3, right? So right here it says that a high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. Verse 5, the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, right? So when you look up the word diligent, it means consistent, right? You keep doing it and keep doing it. When you look it up in the Hebrew, it says like to make a decision or to be decisive, right? So it says the thoughts of the diligent or the thoughts of the decisive tend only to plenteousness, but of every one that is hasty only to want, right? So when you're diligent in these scriptures, you're diligently studying, you're diligently fasting and praying and doing the things that you're supposed to, right? You're diligently keeping your house in order. You're diligently playing out your role as a man, as the head of the household. You're diligently being a woman that honors and reverences your husband and builds up your house, right? That is going to lead to plenteousness, right? But of everyone that is hasty only to want. So hastiness, I believe I did a lesson on that a while back. Hastiness is only going to lead to bad things, right? There's a difference between being decisive and being hasty. When the Most High shows you something's a good decision or it's according to His word, it's good to jump right into that, right, and just do it, right? Be adamant. Like I said about my rib before, she has an adamant spirit. It's like if we read something and I'm like, look, it says this. She's like, all right, well, that's what we're doing from now on. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between being adamant and being hasty, right? So this is Sirach chapter 4 and verse 29. It says, be not hasty in thy tongue and in thy deeds, slack and remiss. So when you're hasty in your tongue, you're hasty to say something, or you're hasty in your deeds to do something, it says you're being slack and remiss. You're being too slack with what you're doing, right? And it says you'll remiss, you're gonna miss the target that you're trying to hit, right? So a lot of times when people get angry, okay, they're quick to be hasty with their tongue, right? And I used to be the perfect example of this before I was in the truth, right? This is Sirach chapter 28 and verse 11. It says, a hasty contention kindleth a fire, and a hasty fighting sheddeth blood, right? When you're hasty to contend and to just start talking back and forth to somebody, kindles a fire, right? And we know everybody says things that they don't mean when they're angry sometimes, right? I think we can all say we've seen that in our lives before. So being hasty, it says a hasty contention kindleth a fire. It's like the saying in the world goes, right? Don't burn a bridge you have to cross again. There's certain people that me or one of y'all, or you may know somebody who's done this before to you, right? That has got real hasty to be contentious with you, and they kind of burn that bridge, right? And now they can't cross back. And now it's like, okay, you're over there, I'm over here. It's cool, like no grudge, nothing like that. But a hasty contention kindleth a fire. And then it says, and a hasty fighting sheddeth blood, right? A hasty contention kindleth a fire, and a hasty fighting sheddeth blood. And I used to be that dude, right? I remember when me and my rib were studying this verse not too long ago, and she was like, yeah, that was you. You were always hasty. You were always hasty to get into fights. You were always hasty to try to shed blood. And a few times I did get in fights, and either I ended up bloody or the other dude, or both of us ended up bloody, right? Because I was that person. So I'm going back to Proverbs 21 and verse 5. It says, I'm going to read the second part again. But of everyone that is hasty only to want, right? So when you're hasty, when you want something and you're hasty to try to get it, a lot of times you are slack and remiss. You don't get what you want because you're too hasty to get it, right? It's like in the past when I've bought in a car before, right? And I bought the first car that I saw, and I remember afterwards, my dad told me, he was like, "You never buy the first car that you see. You got to look at a few different cars first, compare, and things like that, right?" I bought the first car that I saw, and the car it ended up being what do they call it? Not a dud, a lemon, right? The engine ended up cracking in less than a year, and I was too hasty to want to get it, right? The money was like burning a hole in my pocket. So that hastiness is only going to lead to want. Afterwards, it led me to want another car, right? And another thing in this truth, especially that I've been seeing lately, is that people are hasty when it comes to joining congregations, when it comes to trying to find, I guess you could say, a friend in the truth, or when it comes to getting married, right? Now, there's certain cases, like I said before, where if the Most High puts the Spirit on you, it lines up with the Word, things of that nature. You can do that, and it can work out. But a lot of times, it's just people making hasty decisions, right? So this is Sirach 6 and 7. It says, "If thou wouldst get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. For some man is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of thy trouble." So if you're gonna get a friend, if you're gonna get you're gonna court, you're gonna get a husband, a wife, you're gonna get a congregation, you're gonna get whatever the case may be, you have to prove them first and be not hasty to credit them. Because some people are friends for their own occasions, meaning they just want to be friends with you, they want to be cool with you for a certain reason. And afterwards, after they got that reason, that's the end of it, right? And we know what that means with a lot of worldly men. They want to have sex and they want to get out, and that's why you can't be hasty to credit them, right? So this is Sirach. Get one more precept on this. Sirach 19 and verse 4. It says, "He that is hasty to give credit is light-minded, and he that sinneth shall offend against his own soul." Right? So when you're hasty to give credit to somebody, okay, you're being light-minded. You're taking it as a light thing. When you're in this truth, if you're gonna get a friend, if you're gonna join a congregation, if you're going to get a teacher, right? If you're gonna get a husband or a wife, that is not a light thing. That is a heavy matter, right? So if you're taking it as a light thing, if you're giving credit very hastily, you're taking it as a light thing, and it could lead to you sinning and offending your own soul, right? It says, "He that is hasty to give credit is light-minded, and he that sinneth shall offend against his own soul." Okay, so let's go back to Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 6. "The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death." So when you're getting treasures through lies and through vanity, right? It says it's a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death. You are putting money over righteousness, right? And that in that sense you are seeking death. And I got the perfect precept for that. That's Proverbs 13 and verse 11. It says, "Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase." Okay, so there's a few really good examples, real world examples that we could give on this. Okay, it says, "Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished." So you could think of it physically, right? Worldly money. Okay, if you get wealth by vanity. Okay, doing vain things, doing things against the Most High. He could easily just diminish that wealth and you don't got nothing left, right? It's like I've talked to many brothers before, talked to my rib before, and say like, when you give somebody who doesn't know, who hasn't worked a day in their life, who hasn't really put in hard work, if you give them a whole bunch of money, it's just gonna diminish. They're not gonna have any real soon, right? That's why so many of our people, they get their income tax, they go buy a Mercedes, they go buy a what are the other nice cars? What I don't even know because I don't even keep up with stuff, vain stuff like that, right? They spend all their money on Gucci, they spend their money on all this other stuff, and then guess what? Their money just, they ain't got nothing left. It's diminished, right? They spent it on vanity. That car breaks down or they can't make the payments now. They get a 2022, 2023 car, and now they can't make the payments, and 2 months later it's diminished, and they just drop $5,000, $10,000 on a down payment, and now it gets impounded, right? Now it gets taken back. It says, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. When you work for your money, right? When you work for your money, it's going to lead to a real increase, and you're going to know how to spend that money because you worked hard for it, right? And I could definitely say that from experience. Me, what I do is, for those of y'all who don't know, I have a small landscaping business. I cut trees, cut yards, plants and trees and things of that nature, gardens, etc. So the money I work for, I know it's worth a lot of money because it's worth my time, right? And I'm not going to spend that money stupidly. But like it says here, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. So that's a physical example. But when you think of it spiritually, okay, when you think about it from a spiritual sense, wisdom is better than silver and gold, right? So wisdom is even more of a wealth than, or knowledge, wisdom, and understanding from the Bible is more than physical money, right? So there's certain people that get that wealth, but it's by vanity, right? There's certain brothers that they just learn the scriptures because they want to go out there and yell at Esau, right? And they want to be able to cut people. They want to, oh yeah, I cut you, right? They want to, they're not doing it for the right reason. They're doing it for vanity. Oh, I want to be like that brother. Look how strong that brother looks teaching out there. He's yelling at everybody. They can't even say nothing. That's vain, right? So it says, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished. Eventually, this is what's going to happen, right? And now the brother's not even in the truth no more. I know multiple brothers that this happened to, right? But he that gathereth by labor shall increase. He that gathereth by labor shall increase. Doesn't the word say we have to be workmen in the truth, right? We have to be workmen in the scriptures, rightly dividing the word of truth. When you have somebody, let me give you an example, right? Natasha, Shabbat Shalom, sis. Shabbat Shalom to everybody on here if you're observing Sabbath. Come. Hope you're having a good one as well, right? So it says, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. So let me give you an example. I know a lot of brothers, even sisters, that come into the truth, but I'm specifically with this example. Brothers come into the truth, right away they join a camp, okay? Whatever they're taught, that's all they know, okay? And I know this because I've been in the truth 5, almost 6 years now, and I did this exact same thing. You come into the truth, you listen to this one brother, these two elders of your camp, and that's everything you know, right? There's no work involved for you, okay? Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished. You're getting this knowledge, this wealth from them, but it's for vanity because, man, I want to go out there and teach like them, right? I got to learn this. I got to learn what they're saying. And then, okay, they said that. Okay, if I come into that situation, I'm going to say the same thing. Okay, he pulled this scripture, I'm going to say that same thing. There's no work involved there, right? And you're doing it for vain reasons. It says, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. You have to actually labor in this truth, in the word for yourself, right? And that is how you're going to increase in wealth. You're not just going to hold on to what's and regurgitate everything that they taught you. Everything they say, you eat it up and then you just spit it out, right? Because that's vanity. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 7. It says, the robbery of the wicked shall destroy them because they refuse to do judgment. Right? And I've seen some brothers in this truth, don't even need to name any names or nothing like that. Even sisters that have been robbing or have robbed their people of congregations, things of that nature. One brother got thrown in jail for he embezzled hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? It says the robbery of the wicked shall destroy them because they refuse to do judgment. They refuse to do what the Most High says to do. Verse 8, the way of man is froward and strange, but as for the pure, his work is right. Right? So the way of the majority of men, the majority of women that are just out here living in the world, just living like beasts of the field, as the word says, is froward. Froward, when you look in the Hebrew, it means crooked, perverse, right? They're not on that straight path. And strange, but as for the pure, his work is right. In order to live pure, you got to be working right. You work with your hands, right? Tribe of Levi, Proverbs 2 and 4. If thou seekest her as silver and searchest for her as for hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of Yahweh and find the knowledge of the Most High. So Khan, that goes perfectly. That's a good precept for verse 6, right? Because it says the getting of treasures, or actually it was 13 and 11, right? Let me get that real quick. That's a good precept. 13 and 11, it says, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase, right? You have to work for this. You have to search for her as for hidden treasures. If there's a hidden treasure out, someone tells you out in a field, right? Or out in your backyard, well, you think you're going to get it without any labor? Of course not, right? You have to go out there and search for it like the treasure it is. So that's how you have to be in these scriptures as well, right? That's how you actually understand the Most High. That's how you actually by doing what? By being in these scriptures and searching them for yourself, right? Not to say that you don't learn from other people, but you can't just learn from other people, right? You have to be a workman in this truth. Like I said, like 2 Timothy 2 and 15 says, right? So I'm going to keep going. This is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 9. It says, it is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. Now, man, it's crazy because this verse right here, I've been seeing and hearing from brothers, a lot of brothers lately, that are saying this is happening. Okay? And it's like Yahushua said, that the foes are going to be those of your own house. Right? And I can only imagine, and I feel for the brothers that this is happening to, that their wife is like this. Okay? It says, it is better to dwell in a corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. You could have a 3,000-4,000 square foot house, right? But it's better for you to live up on the rooftop or up in the attic than to live in that huge house with a brawling woman, a woman that's always contentious, a woman that's always doing this, right? And as a matter of fact, let's jump down to verse 19. It says, it is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman, right? It's better for you to pack up your little backpack and go take a tent and go live in the forest than it is to live with an angry woman or a contentious woman, a woman that's always trying to contend with you. She's always doing this, no matter what you do, right? You come home from work, you sit on the couch. Why are you sitting on the couch? Why are you being late? Why are you watching this? Why do you want to watch that? What do you want for dinner? I want pizza. Why do you want pizza? You see, that's why you're out of shit. That's not, it's better for you to live on the top of your house. It's better for you to live out in the wilderness than to live with a woman like that, right? Because a woman like that, actually, let me get what is it? Chapter 13, Proverbs 13 and verse 3, right? It says, "He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction." Okay, so a lot of brothers lately have been reaching out to me and to another brother I know, and have even I've been seeing people post about it in the past week, couple weeks. Okay, that certain women that claim to be in the truth are doing this. Okay, they're being contentious, they're being angry, disrespecting their husbands, doing this a lot, even physical, doing things that they shouldn't be doing, right? But specifically talking, it says, "He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, and he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction." So what sisters don't understand, right? When it comes to this truth, as a woman that's married, that can be a blessing to you or that can be a curse to you. Okay? And I'll explain exactly what I mean right now. This is Sirach 26 and 26. It says, "A woman that honoreth her husband shall be judged wise of all." Okay, that's the blessing right there. A woman that honors her husband shall be judged wise of all. Right? And I remember, I think the biggest compliment that I've ever gotten from my rib, right, is in the past, like I'd say probably a few years ago, and she brought up this verse. I think it was probably one of the first times I've heard it, or maybe I hadn't heard it for a while, so I didn't really remember it, right? And she said, "Yeah, look, it says, a woman that honors her husband shall be judged wise of all." She was saying, like, man, it's cool because you just teach me. We were reading from the scriptures, and as long as I know you're going to you as you listen to Hamashiach, which is the word, which is in turn obeying the Most High, and she's counted wise of all, right? For women that are married, all you have to do is obey your husband, and you're considered wise of all. But then here's the part that could be a curse. It says, "A woman that honoreth her husband shall be judged wise of all, but she that dishonoreth him in her pride shall be counted ungodly of all." Right? If you dishonor your husband in your pride, in the Most High's eyes, you're considered ungodly of all. Right? Because if you read Ephesians, the 5th chapter, it says that Christ and the church, right? Christ is what? He's the husbandman. And the church is like the bride, right? So he compares that to the husband and the wife. So as the husband is obeying Hamashiach or Christ, that is how the wife is supposed to be obedient to the husband, right? And that's why the scriptures say that you're supposed to obey your husband as unto the Lord, right? But a lot of women don't understand that. It could be a blessing to have a husband. You have a husband, all you got to do is obey him, and you're considered wise of all. Because how many women out here obey and honor and reverence their husband? Not very many at all, right? So going back to Proverbs 21 and verse 9, it says, "It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house." Verse 10, "The soul of the wicked desireth evil, his neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes." So the soul of the wicked desireth evil, right? You have to be careful not to desire evil in these days, because everything we see is evil, right? Everything we see is evil. Just with social media, like what was it, the last live or 2 lives ago that I did about sin and disorder through social media. Almost everything on social media is evil. You can't be desiring these things, right? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go to Mark chapter 7, because all social media does is make you covetous, right? It makes you an adulterer in your heart for a lot of men looking at married women, right? And this is why I've told brothers many times, you shouldn't even be following married women. You shouldn't even be looking at married women. This is Mark chapter 7 and verse 21. It says, "For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders." So it says, from the heart of men. Your heart is your mind, right? As the scriptures say in Proverbs 23 and 7, I believe. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So, for from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries. A lot of men committing adultery with married women by looking at them online on social media. In if men that look at pornography, right? How many of those women are married? Think about that, right? And going off the biblical definition of marriage. It's from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man, right? So when it says the soul of the wicked desireth evil, it starts on the inside, right? It all starts within you. And then, like, again, like I always say, through social media, you're living out a lot of these evils, right? It's causing it to be planted in your mind, and then you act it out later on. So, verse 11, it says, when the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise. When someone's scorning or scoffing or mocking, a lot of times it's good to just let them be, right? You don't even have to uh you don't have to break down the scriptures to them. If you know they're a scorner, if you know no matter what, people prove to you who they are, right? There's some people that just don't want to hear the word. There's some people that just don't have ears to hear, right? They don't have eyes to see what it means. So if they're going to scorn and scorn and scorn, sometimes it's better just leave it be, right? But then there's another case, like it says here, when the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise. Sometimes you got to cut people with the scriptures, right? And it's going to make other simple people become wise, right? If someone says, oh, well, the Bible was written by the white man, right? And you got other people around, they're like, oh, damn, what is this person going to say about this? And then you tell them, so what? If the Bible was written by the white man, and then you break down who he is according to the Bible, and the Bible has a specific judgment for this nation of people, right? Yeah, and you go all the way down and just break it down, the simple will be made wise, right? And when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. So this is how you know whether or not you should be rebuking certain people, right? If they are wise, if they can be instructed, because it says, and when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge, right? Some people can't receive knowledge, and they'll make it very clear to you that they can't receive knowledge. They will always, you could show them 50 precepts, and they just don't have ears to hear, right? They'll come up with an excuse to not follow it every single time. They'll come up with an excuse to not believe it every single time. And when that happens, you got to understand that this person may just be, it's just not for them, right? This is Sirach 3 and 29. It says, the heart of the prudent will understand a parable, and an attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. Okay? An attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. When the first couple years that I was in the truth, that's all I had was an attentive ear. That's all I had, right? I wasn't even thinking about trying to go out and teach or try to do this or try to do that, right? All I wanted was to gain knowledge. Okay? All I wanted was to hear other brothers break down stuff. All I wanted to do was read, right? All I wanted to do was precept my Bible. Okay? Salakia, ignorance. Ignorance, ignorance, ignorance. And the Most High says, it says in Proverbs that a hearing ear and a seeing eye both come from Yahweh. So you can't give someone seeing eyes, right? Is 329, Sirach 329, right? You can't give someone eyes to see or ears to hear. That comes from the Most High, okay? You can't give someone an attentive ear, right? I'm gonna read it one more time. It says, for the second part, it says, an attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. You want to be able to be attentive, right? I've had, man, let me tell you, that's something that vexes me the most, okay? And there's a difference between getting angry and getting vexed, okay? Vex is like annoyed in the spirit, okay? That's something that vexes me the most. If I take time out of my day, right, which like I said many times before, time is more valuable than money, okay? Because if I lose $100, right, I drop $100 bill on the floor, I can work and make up that $100. But if I give you my time, okay, and you waste it, I can't get that time back. So there's been certain brothers or sisters, I'll give them counsel and things like that. And, oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? Or I got sidetracked, or I wasn't paying attention, right? Even in my own home, come and counsel with brothers and sisters, and I'll catch them dazing off, biting their nails, or we're studying the scriptures. They're over here tapping their pen, right? They're over here drawing, doodling and stuff. That is very vexing, right? And this is why it says an attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. Not only does someone who has wisdom, they want someone to have an attentive ear, but also if you're wise, you yourself want to have an attentive ear. Because how do you learn? Through hearing, right? So I'm going to go back to Proverbs 21 and verse, let's see, there's a couple So verse, what was I at? 12. The righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but Yahweh overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness. Right? So Proverbs 3:33, the curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. Right? I have that one written upon the table of my heart because my 4-year-old son has that one memorized as well. The curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked, but he blesses the habitation of the just. Right? This says the righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked. Because when you're in the scriptures, okay, when you're actually in the scriptures, what are you going to do? Amos 5:15 says, hate the evil, love the good, establish judgment at the gates. What does that mean? What does it mean to establish judgment at the gates? You hate evil. You hate stuff that goes against the Most High. You love what the Most High's word says, which is good, right? So you establish judgment at the gate, right? Your eyes are your gates. Your ears are your gates to your heart. So as soon as you see something, as soon as you hear something, you are automatically, when you're in the spirit, you are judging, okay, is that righteous? Is that unrighteous? Okay, that man just said something that's completely against the scriptures. That's wicked, right? Okay, that person, man, look at them. They're eating a hot dog wrapped with bacon and some ham sprinkled on top. That's wicked, right? You automatically are establishing judgment at the gates. So when it says the righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, you're going to know and you're going to consider and you're going to judge things, judge with righteous judgment, like Yahushua said, if a house is wicked, whether it be a congregation or a camp, whether it be, oh, this brother said he wanted to bring his family over. He invited us over. We're going to go over there. And then you see they got white Jesus up on their wall and they got crosses and then they're eating pork. And then they're doing, you already know that there's wickedness there, right? That it's not according to the scriptures. Okay, so it says, the righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but Yahweh overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness, right? This is a good precept for that. Proverbs 14:1. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. Right? This is something that I've been seeing lately. And I've seen for years as I've been in the truth. Right? And even brothers that were in the truth with me before, I've seen this happen. Okay? I've seen this happen. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. I've seen foolish women pluck down a whole household through their wickedness. Because if you have the man, right, and he's trying to live righteously, and then the woman's under him, and then they got children, right? A lot of times, if that woman is wicked, she is going to try to be over the man, and she's going to teach or allow her children to do wickedness, right? So sometimes all it takes is just a wicked woman to destroy. It's like it says in Sirach 26:25 or 26:24, a wicked woman is given to a wicked man, right? And I've seen that happen to where a brother be in the truth and the woman through her wickedness pull him right out the truth, right? Tribe of Levi, Proverbs 1:25. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. Calm. And a lot of people, their fear is, if you ask somebody what's your biggest fear, some of them say death. Some of them say, stuff happening to their children, right? If you go to the book of Isaiah, matter of fact, I'll get it real quick. Isaiah 13:16, it says that's exactly what's going to happen, right? And when you set at naught, you set aside the Most High's counsel, right? His word. And remember, his word, the majority of times it comes from people. People trying to correct you, and you want to take that correction. So like Proverbs 15:10 says, he that hateth reproof shall die, right? If you're not taking that counsel, you don't want none of his reproof, he's going to laugh when your calamity comes, right? He's going to laugh when your fears come upon you. So think about that, right? I always tell parents when I've counseled with parents, like, what's your biggest fear? The majority of the time is something happening to my children. So imagine the Most High makes your fears come upon you and he makes something happen to your children, right? Which this is Isaiah 13. And this is talking about the destruction of Babylon. Okay. So this is talking about when America is prophesied to get destroyed. And I'm going to jump to verse 15. It says, I'm going to start on 14 actually. 14. And it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. It's going to be like a chased deer, right? People are going to be like deers getting hunted down. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one to his own land, right? So everyone is going to turn to, the only people you're going to care about is your family, right? Or the people close to you, your friends, etc., right? You're going to go to your own land, your own people, right? Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, right? And everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Any of these wicked people that are found are going to get put to death. And anybody that's found with the wicked are going to be put to death as well. Verse 16, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. So it says children are going to be put to death before their parents' eyes, right? Their house is going to be spoiled, broken into, stolen, destroyed, right? Like if you ever seen Book of Eli, okay? Like you've seen the Purge movies. And then it says, and their wives ravished, okay? I've talked to many sisters that I've asked that question, because I ask that question often. Well, what's your biggest fear? Right? When they're on the fence about following the Most High. Well, what's your biggest fear? Because it says he's going to bring your fears upon you if you don't follow him, right? A lot of women, they'll say dying, or they'll say getting raped, getting taken into sex trafficking, etc., right? Well, the Most High says this is going to be happening in Jacob's trouble. So if that's not motivation for you to follow him, then I honestly don't know what is, right? So let's go back to Proverbs 4, Oh, Salakia, Proverbs 21. Proverbs 21 and 13. It says, whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. Okay. Now there's certain brothers, sisters, stuff like that, that may be in the truth, and they, hey, can you give me $10, $20, right? Can you give me whatever? I'm homeless right now. Can you throw me $20 for a hotel room, whatever? And it could be talking about that, right? But even more importantly, because the spirit is definitely more important than the physical, right? Whoso stoppeth his ear at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. If someone's reaching out to you, right, and they're going through something, and let's say they're going through something spiritual, and they need advice, they need counsel on the matter. Hey, shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. If you're observing the Sabbath, Kingdom Minded 144. How's it up there in Houston, Knock? Is it cold? It's cold down here, bro. But yeah, so if someone is feeling spiritually poor, right? They're down in the spirit, and they need your help, they need your counsel, etc. And you have the ability to do it, you have the time to do it, then you need to do it, right? We don't labor just for ourselves in the scriptures, right? As Solomon said, but to help those, or to help those that also seek learning, that also seek counsel, that also seek comfort in the scriptures, right? So if you don't help out the poor, whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. Then it's like Galatians 6 and 7, right? It says you reap what you sow. So you may end up spiritually poor, and you're trying to reach out to somebody, you need some counsel, and you ain't going to get it either. You're going to cry too, and ain't nobody going to help you, right? Definitely cold, Ak. I was in California a couple of weeks ago, loved it. Khan, I bet. So I'm going to keep going. This is verse Salakia, verse 14. A gift in secret pacifieth anger, and a reward in the bosom strong wrath. Right? So we were reading this, I was reading this with my daughters and my rib not too long ago, and I asked them, always ask them to give examples, right? And my rib gave an example, and she was like, okay, well, because my daughters couldn't come up with an example for this. So a gift in secret pacifieth anger, a reward in the bosom strong wrath. Let's say someone's real mad at you, right? And she was giving the example, like in the world, let's say we weren't in the truth, and you did something bad, and then you come home and you give me a car, or you get me a horse, or you get me some jewelry, and now that pacifies my anger, right? That's a good example, right? But also, if you look at it spiritually, a lot of people are angry or upset with the way that we're being treated as a people, right? Which is understandable. Okay, this is Ecclesiastes 7 and 7. It says, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. So oppression, the way that our people are being oppressed, it is going to make a wise man mad, right? When you see like your family dying because they get that poison, right? And then they die. That's a form of oppression. When you see your family or your friends being spiritually oppressed, and they're stuck in Catholicism and Christianity and all this wickedness, that is spiritually being oppressed, right? So that is going to make you mad, right? And then it says, and a gift destroyeth the heart. So this is a different type of gift. This is a wicked gift, right? This is like, I need a job, okay? And then someone says, okay, I'll give you $20 an hour, $25 an hour. And you're like, man, that's a good job right there. And then you're like, okay, but I can't work on Sabbath. And then they're like, well, okay, I'll give you a $500 bonus. Sign on right now when you work on Sabbath. And then you're like, dang, I can't turn that 25 an hour plus a bonus. I can't turn that down. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna pray about it. I'm gonna ask for forgiveness. I'm gonna work on Sabbath, right? That's a gift that destroys your heart. Your heart was set to follow the Most High, and then they offered you a gift, which was money, right? And now you're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're going to go off, and you're going to do something that destroys your heart. You're and it destroyed your heart trying to follow the Most High, and your heart is more set on money, right? When I could show you men put to death in the Bible for breaking Sabbath, when I could tell you men that would rather die than to break the Most High's laws in the Bible, right? But going back to Proverbs 21 and going off of that other type of gift, it says, a gift in secret pacifieth anger, a reward strong wrath. Okay, so what's the reward we're all looking for? The reward we're all looking for is the kingdom, right? So you may be angry at the oppression and all these things that are happening right now to our people, and man, my family members, my friends, all they're so oppressed, and you're upset about it. But if you make it to the kingdom, right, that reward is gonna completely nullify any of the anger you're going through right now, right? Natasha Sirach Khan, exactly. Sirach 33 and 17. Consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning. Right? You never know when the Most High can just use you to help somebody else out on that path. Right? And not only is that, this is where some people try to make it, or they think it's only benefiting other people, right? But this benefits you just as much, or maybe even more than other people as well, right? So it's always, look at it this way, it is always a blessing to you to be able to help out somebody else spiritually, okay? So this is the book of James, chapter 5 and verse 19. It says, brethren, if any of you do err from the truth and one convert him, right? If someone's going off, okay, and they need counsel, and you convert him, you show them, look, these precepts, it says this, that, and the other. This is what you need to do. Let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins, right? So not only are you converting him from his sin and death, because the wage of sin is death, you're converting him back into walking on that that narrow path, right? And of course, it's all through the Most High's will, right? But the Most High is using you as a vessel to do this. So you're saving, it says, he that converted the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins, right? So you may, and it says a multitude of sins. It doesn't say one sin, it doesn't say two sins, it says a multitude. That's many sins. So now the Most High is, it could be the Most High giving you an opportunity. Okay, you help this person, and now since you help them get back on track, I'm gonna forget about those sins that you were doing last week, right? And you repent of them, you pray, and you stop doing them, and he in turn hides that multitude of sins for you, right? So that's a beautiful precept right there that I was referring to, right? Consider that I labor not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning. Because not only is it helping them, but it's going to benefit me or you or any of you brothers or sisters that the Most High puts the Spirit on you, and you have the knowledge and wisdom to actually show them that, right? It's going to benefit you. So going back to Proverbs 21 and Salakia. First Corinthians, okay, tribe of Levi, First Corinthians 13:13. And now abideth faith, hope, charity. These three, but the greatest of these is charity. Calm. Because if you can prophesy, it's like Paul said, right? If you can prophesy, you can heal, you can do all these things, right? But without charity, you're nothing, right? Without that love and charity are they go hand in hand. Okay, because charity, being able to have charity to your neighbor, like think about it this way, in the out in the world, I don't know about y'all, but at least me, right? For maybe I started smoking weed when I was like 12, about 12 years old, and I smoked for about what 13, 14 years of my life. But when I had weed, I was always charitable, right? I always wanted, oh yeah, you want to smoke? Oh yeah, you want, oh you got wraps, I got this, right? When I had money, when I was doing things I wasn't supposed to, and selling drugs and doing all this wickedness and I had money, I was always charitable, right? But then in the truth, what happens to some people is they lose that charity, right? And like it says here, you can have faith, you can have hope, but you have to have charity as well, right? Because like Yahushua said, what are the two greatest commands? To love the Most High with all your heart and all your soul, and then to love your neighbor as yourself, right? If you want people to be charitable to you, of course, you have to be charitable to them as well, right? So back to Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 15. It says, it is joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. All right. It should be joyous to you to do judgment, to do the right thing, to follow the word. Right. And it's like I've said many times before, when I was first coming into the truth, Sabbath was not a joyous thing for me. Right. Sabbath was a grievous thing to me. Because it was like, man, I want to go. At that time, I was doing MMA professionally. Saturday sparring day, man. I can't miss that, right? I wanted to cook, I wanted to barbecue, I wanted to go work out, I wanted to do all these things, right? It wasn't a joy to me to do judgment, to keep Sabbath, to follow the commandments, right? So this is 1 John 5:3. For this is the love of Yahweh, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, right? It's about the spirit that you're doing things in, right? It's like we read earlier in the chapter how it says that you may think you're doing the right thing, but the Most High ponders your heart. He ponders your spirit. What spirit are you doing this in, right? So you could be keeping the Sabbath, but if you're over here, man, I got to keep the Sabbath today, right? If you're not happy or joyous or content with doing it, you're doing it in the wrong spirit, right? That's like if let's say you have a wife and you're like, hey, y'all are in the truth, right? And you're like, hey, you're supposed to be my helpmeet. Can you cook something for me? I've been working all day. Can you help me out? Cook something? It's like, all right, I guess. I mean, I don't want to, but I will, right? Or you got a sister and she's in a dress and a head wrap, and then you're like, hey, you look good in that. You look modest. You look beautiful. And she's like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I have to dress modestly, right? It's all about the spirit that you're doing it in. It has to be a joy to you to do these things, right? This is 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 6. But godliness with contentment is great gain, right? It's not enough to just live godly. You have to be content with actually doing it, right? And for some brothers and sisters, it's right away. For some brothers and sisters, it's over time that you got to kind of come into this thing and get used to it. Like I said before, Sabbath, me keeping Sabbath before, I started keeping Sabbath because my ribs started keeping Sabbath. And she showed me, she put some scriptures, I think on a flashcard, showed it to me. I read it and I was like, damn, I do got to keep Sabbath. And I didn't want to, but I did, right? And now I look forward to the Sabbath. Right? Kanak, it was 1 Timothy 6 and 6. But godliness with contentment is great gain. When you can follow these scriptures and be content and to be happy with doing it, that is great gain. Because what is the benefit of following it? Eternal life, right? You should be happy with trying to seek eternal life. Okay, so going back to Proverbs 21 and 15. It is joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. Right? I'm gonna get one more precept on this. I'll keep going. This is Ecclesiastes 3 and verse 12. Ecclesiastes 3 and 12. It says, I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. Right? That's the best thing you can do. To do good, which what is good? Following the scriptures. Right? Yahushua said, when the man asked him, how do I make it to the kingdom? He said, good master, what good things must I do to enter into the kingdom? He said, why thou callest me good? If thou wish to enter into eternal life, keep the commandments, right? So keeping the commandments is the good thing to do. But like it says here, it says for man to rejoice and to do good, right? So you have to be joyous. Find comfort and joy and contentment in following the Most High. Because if you're not doing it in that spirit, it doesn't matter anyway, right? It's like if I told my daughter, it's your turn to clean the kitchen today. You haven't done it, right? And she's like, all right, I guess I'll do it. I don't want to, but I will, right? Is that going to please me just because she does it? No, she has to do it in that right spirit, right? So this is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 16. This is one of the first verses that I ever memorized coming into this truth, right? The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. The man that wanders out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. When you have understanding, right? There's some people that have knowledge and there's some people that have understanding. You could know scriptures, you could quote scriptures, right? You have knowledge. But when you understand, when you have real understanding, you understand that you have to follow this knowledge, right? It's not enough to quote scripture. You have to be living by it as well, right? So it says a man that wanders out of the way of understanding is going to be in the congregation of the dead. What is the congregation of the dead? That's the valley of dry bones, right? Can you bring me some water, baby? It's the valley of dry bones. It's those people that are living without the scriptures, without wisdom, right? They're not living according to the Bible, right? So he that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. And this is happening to a lot of brothers and sisters right now, right? A lot of people are wandering out of the way of understanding. They're not following the scriptures no more, right? Or I've seen brothers and sisters falling into the false understanding that you actually don't have to keep the commandments now. And if you're trying to keep them, you're actually wicked, right? There's people that are not no longer believing in Yahushua, in our Messiah, our Hamashiach, right? There's people that are wandering out of the way of understanding in all different ways, shapes, and forms. Thank you. But guess what? That's all because the Most High wants that to happen, right? The Most High set it up that way. So I'm going to go to Hebrews. This is Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 38. That's right. So this is Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 38. It says, now the just shall live by faith. But if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. Right? My soul shall have no pleasure in him. When you draw back from the Most High, when you draw back from following his word and his law, statutes, and commandments, Salakia, the Most High no longer has pleasure in you. Right? You've wandered out of the way of understanding. You're now in the congregation of the dead. You are dead to him. And that's a scary thing because he may not let you back in. Right? He may not let you back into this thing. Let me get Psalm chapter 49 and verse 14. Psalm chapter 49 and 14. It says, like sheep, they are laid in the grave. Death shall feed on them, and the upright shall have dominion over them in the morning, and their beauty shall consume in the grave from their dwelling. So it says the grave is their dwelling, right? There's some sheep that weren't really of the sheepfold, right? There's some Israelites that aren't really Israel. That's why it says in Romans the 9th chapter, I believe, that all Israel is not of Israel, or all of Israel is not Israel, right? Just because you're an Israelite, it doesn't mean you're chosen, right? It doesn't mean that you're chosen just because you're an Israelite. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm Israel, I'm chosen. There's certain brothers and sisters that hold to that doctrine. They hold that doctrine dearly to their heart. It doesn't matter. As long as you're Israel, you're going to be regenerated into the kingdom. La'ah. That's not what the scriptures say, right? That's not what the scriptures say. So basically, if you say, without even getting deep into that, right? If you say that you're going to make it to the kingdom, right? With whether you're wicked or not, just by being Israel, you're going to be regenerated into the kingdom. Well, then that means you don't need Yahushai, right? Because you're going to make it either way. Then that means there's no point in following the scriptures in any way, shape, or form, right? Come, Israelites killed the Messiah. Exactly, right? And actually, what is that scripture? First John, I got a good one right here. First John 2:19, I believe. Con, right? When Pontius Pilate, okay, he said, why y'all trying to kill this just man? Talking about the Messiah, right? Talking about Hamashiach Yahushai, okay? He said, why are you trying to kill this just man? And he washed his hands. He washed his hands. He said, the blood is not on my hands. And what did the Israelites say? They said, let it be on us and on our children, right? Imagine saying that about the Most High. Israelites said that, right? So there's definitely the same. There's no new thing under the sun. There's the same Israelites that really hate our Messiah, okay? And that's why they teach against things that he did, right? One being water baptism. So this is First John 2:19, right? First John 2:19. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest, that they were not all of us. Okay, so there's some amongst us, right? They went out from us, but they were not of us. They weren't really of us, right? They weren't trying to sincerely follow the Most High. Okay? For if they had been of us, they would have no doubt continued with us. They would have continued in this thing, right? It's like Yahushua said, my sheep hear my voice, right? And they follow me. There's certain people that don't really believe in Yahushua, right? Which he is the word in the flesh. So they really don't believe in the word in general. Okay. So there's also certain people in your life, right? Have had them in my life as well that are not really with you. They say that they're with you, but they are not with you. Okay. This is Proverbs 23:7. It says, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. So as you are in your heart, that's how you actually are. It says, eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. There's some people that act like they want what's good for you, that act like your friend, that act like they're with you, but they're not really with you. It says, but his heart is not with thee, right? In their heart, in their mind, in their spirit, they are not with you. So you have to be careful of this, right? Salaki, I missed a couple comments. Tribe of Levi, Joshua 1:8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Right? The book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night. Okay? But that's not enough. It's not enough to just meditate in the word. What are you supposed to do? Observe to do according to all that is written therein, right? And some people are falling off with the first part. Some people are falling off with the second part. Some people are just too lazy to be in the scriptures. Some people are in the scriptures every day, but they're not applying them. They're not observing to do according to all that is written therein, right? That's another thing. Certain brothers or sisters will reach out to me. I'll give them counsel on something, right? Then later on, they'll say, well, I mean, I'm still not being prosperous. I'm still not having success, whether it be spiritually, financially, etc. And then I'll be like, okay, well, remember when we counseled about this? Have you started applying the scriptures? Are you observing and doing according to what is written, according to what you were struggling with? Well, no, I mean, I haven't really gotten around to it. It's tough. I'm going to try to get to it. You're not doing what the scriptures say to do. That's why you're not prospering. That's why you're not having good success, whether it be mentally, right? You're falling into different spirits, spirits of lust, fornication, spirits of addiction, spirits of depression, right? You're not happy at all. I talk to so many people that I counsel with, right? And they say they're not happy. And I'll give them scriptures. Okay, well, look, we got to examine, you got to examine yourself then. Let me help you out. What are you struggling with? Oh, well, it's because this. I know I'm not doing this. I'm going against these scriptures. Okay, well, here's some scriptures. You got to do this, that, and the other. You're not happy, right? You want to be successful. You want to prosper mentally, spiritually, even financially, right? You want to be a good wife. You want to be a good husband. You want to be a good future wife or husband. Then what do you have to do? When you really think about it and you put it in layman's terms, right? If you it's like my old coach, my old boxing coach said, right? He would always say, kiss, kiss, remember kiss. Keep it simple, stupid, right? Keep it simple. If you really keep it simple, you study the word, okay? And then you observe and do what the word says to do. So I'm studying, I'm reading. Oh wait, it says this, but I've been doing this. I really should do this instead. Then do it, right? If you really want to be prosperous, if you really want to have good success, then that's what you got to do, right? Keep it simple. That's no different from Christianity. Calm. I believe you're talking about what I was saying about you'll make it into the kingdom no matter what, right? That's no different from Christianity. Calm. John 10:27. My sheep hear my voice. That's right. Calm, calm, calm. All praise to the Most High. So going back to what we on, Proverbs 21 and verse 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. So this is Proverbs 23:21. Oh, Salakia. Let me see. 23. I have a wrong precept written on here. Sometimes that happens. Oh, Salaki. You know what? Let me go to 2 Peter real quick. I'll bear with me 1 minute. Right? Because when you wander out of understanding, like imagine, think about it this way, right? One of my favorite scriptures is Luke, the 11th chapter, where it says, to whom much is given, much is required. Okay? To whom much is given, much is required. Now, don't you think the Most High has given you a lot? If he has woke you up to the fact you're an Israelite, right? That's like beginning level. Okay? He woke you up to understand you're a chosen people. Then he woke you up to understand you actually have to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Then he woke you up to understand what's going to happen on this earth and all these other things that you understand now. He has given you much, right? But to whom much is given, much is now required. So if you wander out of the way of understanding, sometimes he's just going to allow you to remain in the congregation of the dead, right? It's like if someone buys you a car, right? Let's say your mom or your dad buys you a car, brand new car, okay? And you don't take care of it. And they come and see it and it's all scratched up, it's dented, you wrecked it a bunch of times being stupid. They look inside and you got trash all in there, right? And then you end up totaling your car, right? You think they're gonna bless you and bless you and bless? Let me get you another one, right? No, to whom much is given, much is required. You are now required to do more as you come into this truth. And like I tell brothers all the time, there's levels to it, right? We're ever learning and trying to, none of us have the full truth, right? I don't care what any camp or any brother says. We have 144% truth. We have 100% truth, whatever. Paul said we prophesy in parts, right? There's none of us that know every single verse, chapter, every single law, etc., right? So as much is given to us, much is required, and we got to keep being diligent in the scriptures, right? Because if not, this could happen to us. It's 2 Peter 2 and verse 20. It says, for if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of Yahweh and Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, they are again entangled therein and overcome. So if you escape the world, right? You escaped the world. You escaped Christianity. You escaped Catholicism. Okay, you escaped being wicked and being a pimp and being a drug dealer and killing your own people and being a gangbanger and killing your own people. You escaped uh, uh, being a whoremonger and making whores out of all the daughters of Zion, right? But then you fall back into the world, right? It says they are again entangled therein. You get entangled in the worldly spirit and overcome, and it overcomes you, and you can't come back into the truth. The latter end is worse with them than the beginning. It's going to be, you're worse off coming into this truth and then falling back into the world, right? It says, for it have been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than after they have known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. It's better for you to not even have learned this truth than to learn it, to learn the holy commands, to learn your chosen people, to learn that the Most High sent his son to die for you so you could have a period of grace to get right. And you just stomp all over the Messiah's, our Messiah and Yahweh's sacrifice, right? It's like I said in one of the previous lives, I believe it was the one on Jomar's page, which didn't get to save. If me, right, and like I've said before, I've admitted it many times, before I came into the truth, I was the type of person to always be trying to get in fights and stuff, right? If someone looked at my rib at that time, which we were just dating, whatever you want to call it, right? If someone looked at her, I'd be like, what's up, bro? You got a staring problem? I'll be trying to start a fight, right? Now that I'm in the truth, I'm a lot more cool-headed, right? That's not gonna happen, right? So in the past, people have tried to start fights with me, and I kind of laugh it off. You know what I mean? But me as a father, right? If someone says something to me, I'm most high willing not going to let it get to me to the point where I fight them, right? And like we read earlier in Sirach, what was it? The fourth chapter, the third chapter, it says hasty fight will cause or will shed blood, right? I try not to be like that. But if somebody was to tell my son, right, who's 4 years old, if they came and started talking crap to him, how much more mad do you think I'm going to be, right? I can't even pretend that I'm in the spirit enough to not do something. If a grown man came and pushed my son or something, right, I would be way more mad. I mean, I'm gonna most likely I'm gonna choke that man out. So now compare that to the Most High, right? If you know his son, he sent his son to die for you, okay? And you just stomp all over that sacrifice like it's nothing. You keep being wicked. You get baptized for remission of sins, and then you keep doing the same things. You keep fornicating. You keep not being set apart. You keep breaking Sabbath. You keep doing all manner of wickedness, right? It says that it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than after they have known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. Your punishment is going to be worse. Verse 22, but it has happened unto them according to the true proverb. The dog is returned to his own vomit again. Like a dog throws up, leaves, comes back and eats his own vomit. That's how the Most High sees people that come into this truth and they wander out the way of truth and back into the congregation of the dead. and the soul that was washed to her wallowing in the mire, right? A soul is a pig. When you wash a pig, right, that compares you to a pig that got washed, right? If you come into the truth, you get baptized, you get remission of sins, you're a new person. And then you return to your wallowing in the mire, right? Your wallowing is like chilling. Mire is filth or mud, right? And this is what a lot of people do, right? Even people that I myself have baptized in the past, they go back to the wallowing in the mire, right? And it's like I said, I made a post not too long ago. If you get clean, right? If you get washed clean, like it's comparing wicked people to a pig here. If you wash a pig and you put them back in a pig's pen, how long is that pig going to stay clean for? Not very long, right? A few minutes, a few seconds, right? That's how people are. And that's why we have to be set apart in these last days. Right? I don't know if y'all could hear it, but we got some chicks the other day. I went to get some horse feed at Tractor Supply. I don't know if y'all know about that store. They had some chicks, so we got like 10 chicks right here in a box. I don't know if y'all could hear them. They were going off right now. But I'm gonna go back to Proverbs chapter 21. I'm gonna read 16 one more time and then keep going. Right? It says, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. That's the last thing you want to do, is to wander out of the way of understanding, right? Because you may end up remaining in that congregation of the spiritually dead, and you ain't never going to come out of it, right? And as a matter of fact, hold on, let me get Proverbs 13 and 20. Because this is what, the majority of the time, this is how you wander out of the way of understanding. This is Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 20. It says, he that walketh with wise men shall be wise. Okay? He that walketh with wise men shall be wise. But a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Shall be destroyed. When you constantly surround yourself with wise people, with people that are known to be godly people, okay? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to get that precept in a little bit. They're rejoining to the truth that's being said. They are rejoining to the truth that's being said. I don't know exactly what you mean by that out. There are some people that come back into this thing, right? I'm not saying it's impossible, right? I'm not saying the Most High won't have mercy on you. He has mercy on whom he has mercy on. He shows compassion to who he shows compassion on, right? Romans the 9th chapter. But the majority of people, from what I've personally seen, people that I have seen around me physically, not on the internet and all this stuff, the majority of people that have come into this thing that I've seen and wander out of the way of understanding, man, they wander too far to even try and get back to the path, right? They like all the way out. And only through the power and through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai can they come back into it. It is possible, but it's the farther you wander, the longer you wander, right? The farther you go, the harder it's going to be to get back, right? The chicks are rejoicing to the truth you're speaking. Con. Most High willing, that's what it is. And now that I said that, it's completely quiet, right? I think they went to sleep. They're right there next to that little heat light, so they're good. So I'm going to keep going. This is verse 17. This is Proverbs 21 and 17. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. Right? A man that loves pleasure is going to end up poor. Okay? We're talking about worldly pleasures here. Right? Worldly pleasures. And when I was in, like I said before, some of you may know, when I was 17, I was still in high school and I signed up for the Army Reserve. Right? And that was when the whole Iraq and Iran thing was happening. People were getting shipped out, etc. And while out, the Army Reserve basically is you go 1 weekend a month, and then for a month to 2 months in the summertime, right? And then you also during your 2 year, 2 to 4 year term or contract you sign, you got to go overseas. You got to do at least 6 months to a year, right? So when I signed up, I was still in high school. Then I found out my unit was going to get sent out as soon as in that summer when I was going to graduate, right? So long story short, I ended up the chick that I was with at that time, she ended up pregnant, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna leave, go overseas. I'm gonna miss my first daughter being born, etc. And I did what they call you piss hot, right? You pee and you have drugs in your system. I purposely did it. I smoked weed. I went. I peed. I ended up getting kicked out, right? But a few people that I went to high school with were in that unit and went overseas, right? And what one of them would tell me is that he would blow his whole check on a little strip club that was right down the street from the from where the unit was stationed, right? So when it says he that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man, he was literally asking people for money right over there because he was wasting all his money on alcohol, on drugs, on strippers, etc. Right? Also out here in the world, I mean, when I was in high school, when I was in the world, wasting all my money on weed, wasting all my money on going to parties, clubbing, etc. Right? You're gonna end up poor, okay? But also you're gonna end up spiritually poor when you love all these pleasures, right? And that's also like in First Timothy, I believe it's 5 and 6, where it says, "A woman that lives in pleasure is dead while she lives." Right? You got women that I don't know if it's the thing now or what, but a lot of women just loving to go to Vegas. I got people in my family that are younger, right? 20, in their late teens, in their 20s, in their early 30s. A lot of I have a big family, so-called Hispanic or Native family, and a lot of family members. They love pleasures. It's like all the young women, they want to go to Vegas. They want to go to Miami and go do this. What are they doing over there? Right? Pleasurable things, right? Fornicating, doing drugs, getting drunk, right? Partying. When you love pleasures, you're going to become poor spiritually and physically, right? Then it says, Salaki, I lost my spot. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. Right? This is Proverbs 23:21. For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. So a drunkard and a glutton are going to come to poverty. When you're always trying to drink and stuff, it's going to lead you to poverty, right? And I know this because on both sides of my family is heavy addiction on my mom's side and on my dad's side, right? Whether it be the drugs, but the majority of them are alcoholics, either were in the past or are right now, right? Or were before they got thrown into jail. So I know that this is true. A drunkard is going to come to poverty, right? And a lot of people, to look at it spiritually too, a lot of people are drunkards on doctrine, right? They want to go and drink some of this doctrine, that doctrine, all these different doctrines, and they're getting drunk off of doctrine, right? And then a lot of people are drunk off the wine of Babylon, off of Christianity, off of Catholicism, off of all this other wickedness, right? But I'm gonna keep going. This is verse 18, Proverbs 21:18. It says, "The wicked shall be a ransom for the righteous, and the transgressor for the upright." The wicked are going to be a ransom. A ransom. What is the ransom, right? If someone gets kidnapped, the ransom is what you have to pay for the person that got kidnapped to get out, right? So this says the wicked are going to be a ransom for the righteous. So one example that I gave, man, it was probably a couple years ago. My sister moved a few hours away from here, and I helped her. I drove one of those big old 26-foot U-Hauls over there because I used to drive big trucks like that. And when we were in San Antonio, and I remember all the weight from the U-Haul, right? It pushes the trailer or the truck, right? And I remember I was coming down a hill because she lives on a part of town that's real hilly. It's like the hill country. And I remember I was doing like 40, maybe 42, 45 in the 30 mile per hour zone, right? And I'm coming down this hill like this, and I get to a stop sign, and I stop. And as I'm stopping, I see a cop like crossway, right? And the cop's making eye contact with me, and I'm like, damn, I know I was speeding. I know I was speeding at least 10, 15 miles an hour, right? And I look at the cop, and the cop turns by me and starts going by me. And as they're going by me, they turn on the lights. I'm like, damn, I'm gonna get a ticket, right? And she's making eye contact with me, and she literally turns to the side of me, right next to me. There was an apartment complex. She parks her car and she gets out and starts running after somebody, right? And this was the first precept that popped into my head, right? It says, the wicked shall be a ransom for the righteous. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm so righteous and this, that, and the other, but I was at that time. I remember it was a Friday, and I was like, hey, well, I was telling my sister, hey, as soon as sundown comes, when Sabbath starts, I'm not going to be able to help you no more, right? I was doing my best to follow the word at that time as well. So this came to my mind, like, that person she was chasing, I guarantee you was doing some type of wickedness. And she looked at me like, man, I know you're speeding. I would pull you over, but she had this other thing to do, right? And another example of that could be like, say you're in Jacob's trouble, and let's say you see some martial law trucks coming down the street, right? And you're like, man, we got to get out of here, but they're right there. They can see us. Let's say someone else just pulls up and starts shooting at them, and they're that ransom for you to get away, right? So this is chapter 11 and verse 8. It says, the righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the wicked cometh in his stead. So this is going to be happening more and more in these last days, right? The righteous is going to be delivered out of trouble, and the wickedness is going to be there in that trouble instead of the righteous, right? So I'm going to go back to Proverbs 21 and verse 19, which we read earlier. It's a precept for verse 9. It says, it is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman, right? A woman that is angry and always contending and doing this towards her husband is not in the spirit, like I said earlier, right? Y'all can go back. If you're just joining right now, you didn't see earlier what I was saying, y'all go back, because that's a very deadly thing, right? Life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? Javier Cano, 1 Corinthians 6 and 19. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Most High who is in you, whom you have received from the Most High? Khan, our body is a temple, and we have to take care of it to the best of our ability, right? I don't know if that just popped up late, but I just got that right now. So this is verse 20, Proverbs 21 and 20. It says, there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up, right? So there's treasure to be desired, right? Which, like we said earlier, wisdom is better than silver and gold, okay? That should be desired by you, right? Favor from the Most High should be desired by you. Blessings from the Most High should be desired by you. How do you get the blessings? By following his word. Proverbs chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28, right? See, the problem is when it comes to, like we read earlier, Proverbs 21 and 16, when you wander out of the way of understanding, you start losing that oil, right? This is Matthew chapter 25 and verse 1. It says, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet their bridegroom. The 10 virgins represent what? The church. The bridegroom is Yahushua, right? It says they took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. The 5 of them were wise and 5 of them were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. Right? If you're wise, you're going to keep oil in your lamp. As a matter of fact, you know what? No, I think it's in my room. I have an oil lamp. I've showed it a few times, right? If once that wick is not touching the oil, right, you got to put some more oil in it. Okay? If you're wise, you are going to keep oil. Okay? You're going to keep oil in your lamp. And like the brother just said right now, right? Your body is a temple, right? Your body is like a lamp. Okay? That spirit is that oil. That spirit gets kept by the oil, right? So when it says Proverbs 21 and verse 20, it says there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, right? There is oil in the dwelling of the wise. What does that mean? There's oil in the dwelling of the wise. You're going to have oil. You're going to keep oil in your lamp. What is that oil? What we read earlier, Joshua 1 and 8, right? Studying, meditating on the word, praying to the Most High, fasting when it's on your spirit to do so, keeping the holy days, following the precepts, staying set apart, right? That's a big one as well, because I know a lot of brothers and sisters, they're like, man, why am I so drained? I feel like I have no oil, right? Well, because you're hanging around a bunch of spiritual mosquitoes, right? They're sucking the life out of you, right? I talked to multiple, I counseled with multiple people in the past 2 weeks, right? People saying, man, I need to get out of this place where I'm living at. These people are wicked and they're literally draining me, right? They're draining that oil, right? So I'm gonna read it one more time and then get a precept. It says, there is treasure to be desired in the oil of, in the Salakia. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise. Wise people are always going to have that oil, right? Wise people are always going to have that oil. They're going to keep their fire burning, like it says in the book of Luke, the 7th chapter, I believe, right? So this is Sirach 6 and 14. It says, a faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found such a one hath found a treasure, right? When you find a friend that's full of faith, that's like finding a treasure, okay? It's finding a treasure. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise. So what are you supposed to do then, right? This is Sirach 6 and 36. And if thou seest a man of understanding, get thee betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door. Right? If you know somebody that has wisdom and understanding, you're supposed to wear the steps of his door. In other words, you're supposed to be around that person as much as you possibly can. Why? Because they have understanding, because they can help you, they can teach you, they can correct you, right? They can help you with that oil. They can show you an example, which we have very few examples of how to keep that oil, right? Anybody could tell you and talk your head off and do what I'm doing right now. Anybody could do this and just start reading scriptures, maybe not breaking them down. Anybody could read scriptures, right? But being an example of the scriptures, that is a treasure. And if you find somebody like that, like it says right here, I'm gonna read it one more time. It says, Sirach 6 and 14, a faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found such a one hath found a treasure. If you find a treasure, you're just gonna leave it somewhere. You're gonna go leave it out in the field, right? Then verse 36 says, and if thou seest a man of understanding, get thee betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door. Why? Because every time you go and you're around this man or this woman, even, right? Because for sisters, having a sisterhood with someone else and seeing an example of what a sister's supposed to be like, if you can find that, that's also very valuable. That's also a treasure, right? So you're supposed to wear the foot, let thy foot wear the steps of his door. Why? Because every time you're around this person, you get a new understanding. You get a little oil. You get to see an example of someone who's living out the scriptures, right? I'm gonna get one more precept on this and I'll keep going. This is Sirach chapter 37 and verse, Sirach, is it 35? No, 37 and 12. Sirach 37 and 12. But be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of Yahweh, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. Right? So when it says that there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, right? There is treasure, there is wisdom, there is understanding around people that are godly, right? That are trying to follow the scriptures. Even if they don't teach you something, they can teach you by physically living out that example, right? And that's why it says be continually with a godly man or woman, right? So I'm gonna keep going. This is Proverbs 21 and 21. It says, he that followeth after righteousness and mercy findeth life, righteousness, and honor. Right? He that followeth after righteousness and mercy. How do you follow after righteousness? Right? How do you follow after it? By following these scriptures, by seeking out knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and then applying it, like we read in Joshua 1 and 8 earlier, right? It says, he that followeth after righteousness and mercy. How do you get mercy? By keeping the commandments, right? By doing what the Most High says to do. He that followeth after righteousness and mercy findeth life. How do you get eternal life? Following righteousness. How do you get honor? It says you will find honor. Y'all know what honor is? Honor is respect. You know the Most High respects you when you're following his precepts, when you're following his laws, statutes, commandments, and precepts, when you're living according to his word. He has honor and respect for you. This is Exodus chapter 2 and verse 25. It says, and Yahweh looked upon the children of Israel, and Yahweh had respect unto them. Imagine that. Imagine how much of a blessing that is. Isn't that amazing to y'all? It says Yahweh looked upon the children of Israel, and Yahweh had respect unto them. Imagine if the Most High respected you, right? Isn't that something to shoot for? That should be something we're all shooting for, right? I bet everybody will say they're shooting for that, but your actions may tell a different story, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon 4 and 15. It says, this the people saw and understood it not, neither laid they up this in their minds, that his grace and mercy is with his saints, and that he hath respect unto his chosen. Right? That's like 3 or 4 different things to grasp right there. It says, this the people saw and understood it not. You could show a so-called Christian or Catholic or someone who's not living by the words of the Most High. You could show them this right here, and they wouldn't understand it. They would not believe it. Right? They would not believe this. They would not understand it. It says, this the people saw and understood it not, neither laid they up this in their minds. They can't hold this in their minds, right? Because they're holding on to something different. They're holding on to Christianity. They're holding on to a Babylonian mindset. so they cannot hold this in their minds because it clashes with it, right? In order to accept something new, you got to accept that what you were believing before is a lie. It's not the truth. And they're not going to do that. What is it talking about here? It says, neither lay they up this in their minds, that his grace and his mercy is with his saints, and that he hath respect unto his chosen. Okay, so it says his grace and his mercy is to who? It's to his saints and his chosen. Now, who are his saints? Who are his saints? Right? I could get 20, 10, 15 precepts on this. But let's just get one. This is Revelation chapter 14. Salaket. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 14. Salakia. I'm Hebrew, so sometimes I'm dyslexic, right? I get the Hebrew is right to left, English is left to right. Sometimes I mix them up. This is Revelation 14 and 12. It says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahushai, right? You keep the commandments of the Most High and you keep the faith of Hamashiach. You can't have one without the other. You can have one without the other, but you ain't going to make it having one without the other, right? That's why James chapter 1 and verse 2, it says you have to have faith and you have to have works, right? So the point is, here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahushai. You have to have faith in our Messiah. Of course you have to have faith, but you also have to have works by keeping the commandments. And that's why it said in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 15, his mercy, right? His mercy and his grace is with who? His saints. Who are his saints? Is those that are keeping the commandments to the best of their ability and keeping the faith of Hamashiach, right? You can't have one without the other. But remember, like I said, people can't lay this to heart. They can't understand it. They can't accept it because it goes against everything that they've learned, right? And that's why the scriptures say that pride is the beginning of all sin, because you're in a prideful mindset that you will not accept something new. You will not accept that, man, I have to keep the commandments. Man, he has a chosen people. No, I won't accept that. Because you, at first, you have to admit you were wrong for all these years that you've been following this other doctrine, right? Con. So back to Proverbs 21. Proverbs 21 and verse 22. It says, a wise man scaleth the city of the mighty and casteth down the strength of the confidence thereof. Right? A wise man casts down the strength of the confidence of a whole city. Right? How could somebody do this with just wisdom? Let's say you have a whole city of people that believes, going along with what I was just saying, right? You have a whole city of people that believes in Christianity or Catholicism or Islam, right? And a wise man comes and he says, okay, do y'all believe in God, in the Most High God? Yes. Y'all believe in the Bible? Yes. Okay, let me show you something, right? In order to make it to the kingdom, you have to keep the commandments and you have to keep the faith of Hamashiach. He shows them 10, 20, 30 precepts. He just tore down the confidence of them. And then he says, well, do you believe this? Well, no, because the Christian church, okay, then you don't believe the Bible, right? That's what this is saying. It says a wise man, he can scale a city. He can climb a whole city of a bunch of mighty people, not literally, right? And casts down the strength of the confidence thereof. They're so confident. They think they're so strong in Christianity and confident in this, but a wise man can just cast that down, right? With nothing but scriptures. Tribe of Levi, Romans 12 and 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. Khan. And that's the problem. People ain't willing to be, people are so conformed to the world that they are not willing to renew their mind, right? They can't be transformed because they're already conformed to the world. If I get some clay, right, and I start molding it, okay, and let's say I make a pot and it doesn't come out that good, and I go leave and I go work and I go get some groceries and I go do whatever. I go take my children to the park. I come back and that clay is now solid because I let it sit there, right? It's already conformed to how I shaped it. It's hard already. That's it. I can't remold it. That's how a lot of people's minds are, right? And that's a hard thing to accept. But Matthew, what is it? 22:14. Many are called, but few are chosen. Or is it 24:12? Salaki, again, dyslexic, right? A lot of people cannot be, they're already so conformed that they cannot renew their mind anymore. And that's why, like I said many times, we're kind of in the end game here, right? That's why in Revelation, the last chapter, it says, hey, if they don't understand, then don't let them, then they're not going to understand. Let the filthy be filthy, right? Let the just be just. And that's how it is. Titus 3:10, it says that a man that is a heretic after the second admonition reject, right? I'm gonna teach you 2 times. You don't want to get it? Okay, then go off on your own understanding, right? You think that's the right thing to do? Go ahead. You can live by that, right? I warned you, the blood's off my hands, right? Natasha, Proverbs 3, 5, 3 and 5 through 6. That's actually probably next Sabbath. I'm gonna do Proverbs chapter 3. That's one of my favorite chapters. Trust in Yahweh with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. How do you trust in Yahweh with all your heart? Right? I ask people this all the time, right? How do you trust in him with all your heart? If his word says do something, you do it. Oh, well, his word says that I have to be set apart and I can't be in a wicked relationship, but man, that's really going to hurt my heart. You're not trusting in Yahweh. You're trusting in your own heart. You're not trusting in him, and you're leaning on your own understanding. Your understanding is, but it's gonna hurt me, and this person has potential, and this, that, and the other, right? Or his word says you have to keep the Sabbath. His word says you would be put to death back in the days for breaking the Sabbath. I know probably all of y'all have heard when the man was gathering sticks, right? He was getting the bundles of sticks to make a fire on Sabbath. What happened? He got put to death. But now some people are like, well, I mean, we have grace, so we can, we can keep the Sabbath. And to the best of your ability, you should be keeping every law, statute, and commandment that you can, that you know of. That's how you trust in Yahweh with all your heart. And you don't lean on your own understanding, right? Verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. When you trust in him with all your heart, you follow what his word says to do. Not what you think is right, what his word says to do. Well, but I've been taught this, but his word says that. So you have to follow it, right? In all thy ways acknowledge him. Everything you're doing, right? Later on, you'll come to find the more you get in the truth, right? The more precepts you learn. And that's why it says you're supposed to write them upon the table of your heart, right? When you acknowledge him in all your ways, everything you're doing, you're like, okay, wait, I remember this precept. This goes against this. I can't do that. I remember this precept says to do this. Okay, do that, right? That is how you acknowledge him in all your ways. And if you don't know what's the right thing to do, then you need to get in the scriptures and find the answers, because the Bible has there's a verse for everything, right? I always tell brothers and sisters that when I'm counseling stuff, man, there is literally a verse for everything. It may not be exactly specific, but there is literally a verse for everything. That is how you acknowledge him in all your ways. And then what's he going to do? Direct your path. His word says, do this. Okay, I'm going to do that. Dang, but I would really like to do this. But his word says this. That's going to direct my path, right? Tribe of Levi, Numbers 15, Khan, he was stoned to death. Right? He was stoned to death. That's why you have to trust in Yahweh with all your heart. If you follow these 2 verses, right? You would make it to the kingdom. Trust in the Most High with all your heart, meaning you follow his word, right? And you trust that, okay, you know what? I want to do this, but his word says this, I'm going to do it. I trust in that. And you don't go off on your own understanding, and he's going to direct your path, right? Let's go back to Proverbs 21. Got a few more verses. Proverbs 21 and 23. It says, whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from trouble. Right? We could get a whole bunch of precepts on this. I'm just gonna get a couple. Let's get, what is it? 18 and 21. Proverbs 18 and 21. It says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Everybody's heard of this, right? Everybody's heard of this verse. There's people in the world that say this and they don't even know it's from the Bible, right? I had heard of this before I was in the truth. I didn't even know this was in the Bible, right? Death and life are in the power of the tongue, okay? Proverbs 21:23. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. The more you get in this thing, the more you're going to realize there's a time to speak and there's a time to refrain from speaking, right? Like it says in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. There's a time to say something and there's a time to shut your mouth, right? And the trick is, or what you need, the point you need to get to, like I said, there's levels in this thing, in being in the spirit, being in the truth. There's levels to it. You got to get to the point where you have good enough discernment to understand when is the time to speak and when is the time to keep silent, right? I'll give you the perfect example of this, of death and life being in the power of the tongue, right? This is 2 Kings chapter 2, and I'm sure some of y'all are familiar with this, right? So chapter 2 of 2 Kings is when Elijah gets taken up by the Most High, right? And afterwards, or right before he gets taken up by the Most High, Elisha's with him, which is basically like his understudy, right? He asks Elisha, what do you want before I'm taken away, right? And Elisha says, I want a double portion of your spirit, right? Which is a good thing to ask for, okay? So I'm going to jump down. I'm going to get to the point. I'm going to jump down to verse 23. It says, and he went up from thence unto Bethel. And as he was going up by the way, this is Elisha, right? There came forth little children out of the city and mocked him and said unto him, go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. They were calling him a baldy, right? They were making fun of him because he was bald. Okay? So what do you think happened to these children for mocking a prophet, right? Remember, life and death is in the power of the tongue. Verse 24, and he turned back and looked on them. He looked at the children, right? And cursed them in the name of Yahweh. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood and tear 42 children, or 42 children of them, right? So they were mocking a prophet. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. He turned around and he cursed them in the name of the Most High. And 2 bears came, 2 she-bears, 2 female bears came and killed 42 of them, right? 42 children. Think about that for a second, right? So how much worse do you think it's going to be in Jacob's trouble, right? You think the Most High is going to have mercy on the wicked? Not so. This is Proverbs 17 and 28. It says, even a fool when he holdeth his peace is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed as a man of understanding. And like I said, we could get probably 10 precepts for this right now, right? But it's gonna what time is it? It's already 1:18 where I'm at. We got a few more verses. There's what, 31 verses, right? Aman, aman. Hallelujah. Nope. right? That's what the Most High is going to say, right? When the wicked, when Jacob's trouble is going down and people are dying, when you got 10,000 on the left and 1,000 dead on the right, and the wicked are praying, oh, please just have mercy on me. Nope, right? It's a time of judgment, a day of vengeance, a day of wrath. So this is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 24. It says, proud and haughty scorner is his name, who dealeth in proud wrath. Right? There's some people, like I said before, right? Like we talked about before. There's some people that are just scorners, man. That's their lot. That's a heavy lot to have, right? They're just scorners. They're prideful. You can't correct them. They're just gonna scorn. They're gonna mock, right? And they're just mad all the time. They just want to argue. You gotta mark these people, like Paul said, mark them and cut them off and have no communication with them, because that's all they were meant to do, right? And they're really what they are is a test. A lot of people try to get you to go off, especially with social media being what it is. There's a lot of people just trying to get you out of the spirit. All right, verse 25. The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. This is one of my favorite verses, man. The desire of the slothful killeth him. The things that you desire, man, it's killing me. I just really want this. I really want that. I really want a place of my own. I really want a car, right? The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. Well, you refuse to work for it. So why are you going to get it? How are you going to get it? The desire of the slothful killeth him. Man, it's killing me. I just really need a wife, right? That's why I'm going off and I'm getting into pornography and lust and all these things, right? That takes work. His hands refuse to labor. You got to work. You got to be able to provide financially, right? You got to be able to provide spiritually, even more importantly, right? You got to be able to provide mentally. Are you mentally stable enough to even support a woman who is the weaker vessel, right? Let me get a precept real quick. Proverbs 13 and verse 4. It says, the soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. The soul of the sluggard desires and has nothing, right? You could desire to be this wise man or teacher or whatever, but you're a sluggard and you're lazy and you're not going to work in these scriptures. So how do you expect to get all that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? You desire to be a woman that is with a man that is righteous in the Most High's eyes, striving to follow the Most High to the best of his ability, but then you're lazy, right? You don't even take care of yourself. You don't even keep your house clean, right? You don't even cook. You're too lazy. You're not even in the scriptures yourself, right? It says, the desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor, right? You have to work for anything. Anything that is worth something, you have to work for. Salvation, you have to work for it, right? What did Paul say? Work out thy own salvation with fear and trembling. Work out thy own salvation, right? If salvation was easy, you wouldn't have to work for it. I'm going to keep going. Verse 26. He coveteth greedily all the day long. Who covets greedily all the day long? Reading in context. Verse 25. The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. He coveteth greedily all the day long. Slothful people covet greedily all the day long. Right? I'll give you the perfect example. You got a brother or a sister or a man or a woman, right? They're lazy. They want things, but they're too lazy to work for it, right? Whether it be wisdom, whether it be a home, whether it be salvation, whether it be a marriage, right? They're too lazy to work for it. So what do? He coveteth greedily all the day long. Case in point, social media, right? How many people you think are on social media all day, just greedily coveting all day long, just looking, man, that's a nice house. I want that. Man, look at their marriage. Man, I want that. Man, look at that sister. Dang, she looks good. I want that. All day long, just coveting. Man, look at that clothes. I wish I had that nicer clothes. Look at that jewelry. I wish man, they got money. I wish I had that. All day long. Who does that? The slothful, right? The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. All that time that you're using to covet, it could be time used to labor towards what you want, whether it be salvation, which should be what it is, whether it be wisdom, which should be what it is, whether it be a marriage, getting yourself in order as a brother, right? Doing what you need to do to provide for yourself and your household, whether it be as a sister, getting yourself in order to be in the spirit and have the ability to do things you're supposed to do, right? Instead of greedily coveting all day long, right? Verse 27, it says, the sacrifice of the wicked is abomination. How much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind? So that's like verse 3 that we read earlier. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice, right? Then this says the sacrifice of the wicked is abomination, right? If you're sacrificing little things for the Most High, like I said, you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice talking on the phone. I'm gonna sacrifice Netflix. I'm gonna for the Most High for a whole week. I'm gonna sacrifice social media for a whole week, right? That's an abomination to the Most High if you're not following His word in the first place, right? Obedience is better than sacrifice, right? Like we read in Samuel. Obedience is better than sacrifice. The Most High doesn't want your sacrifices if you're not listening to Him in the first place, right? That would be like my daughter. I tell her, okay, look, you need to clean. Your chores are to wash the dishes, sweep the kitchen, and clean off the counters today, right? And then I come home, and then she's like, I'm like, man, you obviously didn't sweep the floor. The dishes aren't done. And she's like, hey, well, you know what? I um I wasn't on the computer all day. I sacrificed that for you. And I'm like, okay, but I told you to wash the dishes and I told you to sweep the floor, right? That's the same thing with the Most High. If the Most High tells you you need to be set apart, you need to keep the Sabbath, you need to do this and this and that, you need to honor your parents, and you're over here, well, but I fasted from TV, right? I sacrificed this, but that's not what He asked you to do, right? So the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination. How much more when He bringeth it with a wicked mind? Because like the sister posted earlier, Proverbs the 3rd chapter, right? It says, lean not on thine own understanding. You have a wicked mind when you're thinking that sacrifices are going to please the Most High, when you're not even doing what He said to do in the first place, right? Verse 28, a false witness shall perish, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. A false witness shall perish. Okay, this is another thing that's a big problem: tale bearing and bearing false witness, especially with social media, right? Like in First Timothy, the 5th chapter, it says that women go about as talebearers, go back and forth from house to house, right? They don't even got to physically go house to house. They got social media, they got phones now, right? It's easier now to do this. And that's why social media and the internet in general is a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because it's spreading the truth faster and faster to the four corners of the earth, but it's also spreading wickedness even more so, right? And that's why when you go to your browser, right, what do you put in? You put in www dot blah blah blah, right? Most people don't type it in, but it still shows up www dot. When you look at the Hebrew alphabet, the W, okay, the Wa is the 6th letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Okay, so in Hebrew, It literally on every website it says www. In the Hebrew, that translates to 666, right? It's the beast system, right? It's one of Satan's devices. And like the scriptures say, we can't be ignorant of Satan's devices, right? But going back to this, it says a false witness shall perish. So let me get a precept. This is chapter 19 and verse 5. It says a false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. Bearing false witness on your brother or sister, lying about a brother or sister, you are not going to go unpunished, right? And this is verse 9. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall perish, right? Life and death are in the power of the tongue, like we read a little while ago, right? So you got to keep them, that tail bearing and them lies. And sometimes, you know what? You don't even know you're lying. You're just saying something that you think happened. You're repeating what someone else said, and it's not even the truth. And you're tail bearing, and you're bearing false witness, and you're lying, right? So that's why I've said many times before, if you hear somebody say something about me, just as an example, you should in reality come to me and say, look, this person said this, that, and the other. I don't know if it's true, so I didn't want to be a part of that tail bearing, so I'm coming to you to get the other side of the story. Or, you know what, that's none of my business. I don't even want to get involved in that, right? Because you're partaking in that. So this is Salakia. Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 29. It says, a wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he directeth his way, right? He directeth his way. So if y'all have a 1611, right, 1611 King James, the good thing about the 1611 is it in the little ledger on the side, it'll have certain words in the Hebrew, right? So on this verse particularly, it says, a wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he considereth his way, right? So you have a wicked man, he's going to harden his face, right? He doesn't want to hear none of that correction. He's going to harden his heart. He's going to harden his face. I don't want the correction. What I'm doing is right. I'm going to keep doing this. I don't care what you say, right? But then it says, as for the upright, those that are trying to follow the Most High and striving to keep the laws, statutes, commandments, and precepts, he considereth his way, right? 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. Examine yourself whether you be in the truth, right? You have to examine yourself and consider the things that you're doing. Consider your way, right? Because if not, then you're just hardening your heart. You think everything you're doing is correct, right? And that's coming from a spirit of pride. So I'm going to go to Proverbs 11 and verse 5. It says, the righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. When you harden your face and harden your heart and you can't take correction, that's exactly what you're doing. That's what's going to happen. The wickedness, the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. You just want to go by what you know, by what you're doing, right? So you're going to end up falling by that if you don't repent from it, right? Let me go to Ezekiel. But on the other hand, right, so you can harden your heart towards the Most High, and you cannot take correction, and you cannot repent, or you can actually turn from that, and the Most High may spare you, right? This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 18, Salakia, chapter 18 and verse 28. Ezekiel 18 and 28. It says, because he considereth and turneth away from all his transgressions that he hath committed, he shall surely live, he shall not die. So notice it says, because he considereth. You have to first consider what you're doing. You have to examine yourself first right? Because he considereth and turneth away from all his transgressions. You consider the things you're doing, you understand their transgressions against the Most High, right? 1 John 3 and 4, sin is the transgression of the law, right? You consider what you're doing, you turn from your transgressions that he hath committed, he shall surely live, he shall not die. So that's what it takes. You can't harden your heart, like it said in Proverbs 21 and 29. A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he considereth his way, right? You got to consider the things that you're doing, because if not, you're going to be destined for that lake of fire, right? Let me get a couple more precepts. This is Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 3. Jeremiah 5 and 3, it says, O Yahweh, are not thine eyes upon the truth? Thou hast stricken them, but they have not grieved. The Most High punishes people, and they don't even grieve for it, right? They just take it. Oh, bad luck, bad karma, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever they think it is in the world, right? Thou hast stricken them, but they have not grieved. Thou hast consumed them, but they have refused to receive correction. That's what you do when you harden your face, right? You refuse to receive correction. The Most High uses somebody to show you, look, I love you. And the Bible actually says you're not supposed to do this. The Bible says you're supposed to do that. The Most High says you're supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. But you didn't want that correction, right? You didn't want to receive the correction. It says, thou hast consumed them, but they have refused to receive correction. They have made their faces harder than a rock. They have refused to return. Some people make their faces harder than a rock, right? No matter what you say, it's not getting through them. It's not getting through to them, right? Hard-headed and stiff-necked. It says they have refused to return. How do you return to the Most High? By repenting. If you look at this verse, Jeremiah 5 and 3, in other translations, some of them say they have refused to repent, right? That's what it comes down to. You have to repent. And that's the way, that's the only way that you can make it into the kingdom of heaven, right? And Yahushua himself said that too. In Luke 13 and 3 and Luke 13 and 5, he said, except ye repent, ye shall likewise perish, right? How do you repent? By keeping the commandments, right? But some people cannot understand that, even though it's so simple, right? Get one more precept and then I'll keep going. This is Proverbs 28 and verse 14. It says, happy is the man that feareth always. Because when you really fear the Most High, you're going to follow his word, right? Sirach, the first chapter, I believe it's 1 and 21. It says, the fear of Yahweh driveth away sins. So you could say you fear the Most High all you want, but if it's not driving away your sins, making you sin less and less and less, you do not fear the Most High, according to Scripture, right? The fear of Yahweh drives away sins. I'm going to read this one more time. Oh, Salaki, I lost my spot. Salaki, 28 and 14. Happy is the man that feareth always, but he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. Right? When you harden your heart to the Most High and you can't take correction and you don't want his reproof, you're going to fall into mischief. And as we see with what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, that's nothing. That's nothing yet, right? Like it says in Jeremiah, like it says in Isaiah, like it says in Matthew 24, what's going to happen in Jacob's trouble is going to be worse than anything you ever seen. Nothing's even happening yet. There's going to be famine, pestilence, war. There's going to be all manner of wickedness, martial law, right? All types of evils you're going to see. Like I said earlier, the Purge and Book of Eli and Walking Dead, all this type of stuff. This is mimicking the scriptures. This is mimicking what is actually going to happen and worse, right? So he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. You cannot harden your heart from the Most High. You have to repent. Verse 30, 21 and 30. There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against Yahweh. There's no wisdom, understanding, or counsel that goes against Yahweh, that can defeat the Bible, right? There's no wisdom, no counsel, nothing that can go against this. It doesn't matter if you got a bachelor's, if you got 5 bachelors, if you got 10 master degrees, you're a doctorate in 4 different areas of studies, it doesn't matter, right? There's no wisdom or understanding or counsel against Yahweh. There's none, right? This is chapter 19 and verse 21. It says, there are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of Yahweh, that shall stand. You could think this is right. You could think that is right. You could think Christianity or whatever you've learned in the past is right. But what it says right here in the Bible, that's actually what's going to stand in the end, right? And we see it with all these prophecies coming to pass. More and more people are starting to say like, damn, they said this was going to happen. They said that was going to happen. I remember before I was even in the truth, I was believing in the mark of the beast, not even knowing it was the mark of the beast, right? People getting microchip and all these things, what Elon Musk is doing with the brain implant. I believed in these things before I was even in the truth because I was a conspiracy theorist, right? Conspiracy realist. And now once I started reading the scriptures, I was like, man, a lot of these things that are conspiracy are in the scriptures. And now a lot of people are starting to see like, man, what these people have been talking about for years is actually coming to pass, right? And it's making some people, like the scriptures say, consider their way, turn to the Most High. And then it's making some people do what? Harden their heart and just, no, I'm still not going to listen to them. They're crazy. They're conspiracy theorists. They're this, that, and the other, right? But in the end, like it says right here, there are many devices in the man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of Yahweh, that shall stand, right? Verse 27 is Proverbs 19:27. Cease, my son. Cease means to stop. Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge. Cease, stop hearing the instruction that causes you to err from this. Okay? The Most High literally saying, stop listening to people that are giving you instruction or counsel that goes against the word. Whether that be your best friend, whether that be the person you're in a relationship with, whether that be the person you're married to, whether that be your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your grandma, your grandpa, your pastor, it doesn't matter. The Most High said, you have to stop listening to that. Stop hearing that. And a lot of times that means getting set apart from that, right? Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge. These are the words of knowledge. Anybody speaking against this, you need to get away from that, right? I talked to multiple sisters in the past couple of weeks that said the same issue, and that's why me and the brother Jomar had did a live that didn't get to save. Somehow it got erased. It was probably like 4 hours long. But basically the same issue was going on with them. Look, it's because these brothers say this, and then this camp says this, and then this brother was telling me this, and I don't know what to believe, right? This is what you should believe. But it's understandable that as a weaker vessel, you know, it is a woman, like I was talking to a sister earlier today, actually. Genesis 3:16 says that a woman desires, her desire shall be to a man or to her husband, that he shall rule over her. A woman's desire and what she was created for is to be a helpmeet to a man, and the man's supposed to teach her, which is why it's a good idea, especially in these last days, for sisters to get married, right? To have a head, to have a leader, to have a guide. Because if not, it's like the sister Hadassah. I don't know if any of y'all knew her before she passed away about probably a year and a half ago, 2 years. She would always say that. She was like, man, us sisters without heads are like chickens with their heads cut off, right? And she was saying it from a position of understanding because she was in that position as well. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that's all sisters, but That's what the sister said, and I knew she was sincere when she said it. So let me see. So this is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 31, the last verse in Proverbs 21. It says, the horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of Yahweh. Right? The horse back in the days, right, when they would go to battle, they wanted them battle horses. They wanted them nice stallions that were fast, that were strong, right? That's what they thought was going to get them to win in battle. Right? Nowadays it's tanks, missiles, etc. Right? It says the horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of Yahweh. Right? So let me get a couple precepts on this and then I'll go ahead and close it out. Safety is of the Most High. And in these last days, putting your trust or your faith in anything besides the Most High is not going to lead you to safety. You're going to be put to death just like everybody else. Right? This is Isaiah chapter 31 and verse 1. It says, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek Yahweh. So it says, woe, danger, death, destruction, right? Plagues, pestilence, death, evil things to those that go to Egypt for help, right? When you go to Exodus, the 20th chapter, it says, I'm Yahweh thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Egypt is the house of bondage, right? It's your slavery, your captivity, which we are still in, especially spiritually to this day, but physically as well, right? So when you are trusting in Egypt, in your captivity over the Most High, right, it's going to lead you to your death. That's what it's saying. You are not looking unto the Holy One of Israel. You are not seeking Yahweh, right? Safety is of who? Of Yahweh, right? So let me get a couple Psalms, and then I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I hope this was edifying for at least a couple of y'all. This is Psalm chapter 20 and verse 9. Salakia. It's chapter, let me see. Some of my precepts are so tiny I could barely even see them. Chapter 20 and verse 7. It says, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of Yahweh our God. Right? Some trust in chariots and horses. Some trust in America. Right? Oh, they're tanks and they're missiles and they're our servicemen who are all types of, some of them ain't even, you don't even know if they're men, right? They're letting all types of, I'm not even going to say nothing on the stream because they'll probably block me for another 2 weeks like they did a couple weeks ago, right? But you know, we got all types of craziness going on in the military, right? Even someone who's in my family he's a lifelong, he was in there, he retired from there, he was in there probably like 30 years, right? And he's saying what's going on right now, he don't want to be a part of it, right? It says some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of Yahweh our God. Because like it says in Proverbs 18 and 20, the name of Yahweh is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe, right? You're going to run to the Most High's name. Like I've said before, I've had dreams before where demons or evil spirits and things of that nature are attacking me. Or I had one dream where me and my family were standing outside and there was like a tornado or whirlwind. And we started saying, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. And guess what? It started taking this house that was right next to us, right? Many dreams and things of that nature, me, my rib, even my children, right? The name of Yahweh is a strong tower, right? And remember, like it says in Proverbs 21:31, it says, safety is of Yahweh. Safety is of the Most High, right? So I'm going to get 2 more verses. This is Psalm 33 and verse 17. It says a horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. So any type of safety, whether you think it's guns, whether you think it's horses, whether you think it's whatever the case may be, right? That can help you, that can aid you. But if you're not seeking the Most High and seeking righteousness first, all of that other stuff is not going to matter, right? So one more verse, I'm going to get Psalm chapter 68 and verse 20. And this is a beautiful psalm right here to end with. Chapter 68 and verse I'm gonna start on 19 actually. 19 and 20. 68, Psalm 68, 19 and 20. It said, Blessed be Yahweh, who daily loadeth us with benefits, even the God of our salvation. So blessed be the Most High, right? Who daily loadeth us with benefits. How do you get loaded with these benefits? When you read Deuteronomy 28, verse 1 through 14, it's all the blessings for doing what? For following the Most High, right? For following what he says to do, for following the Torah, all these blessings shall come upon you and what? And overtake you. You want to, if something overtakes you, you can't even control it, right? It's just these things happening like, oh my gosh, how did this even happen? This is a blessing. That's how it happened, right? Blessed be Yahweh who daily loadeth us with benefits, even the God of our salvation. Salah, pause, meditate, reflect. Verse 20, he that is our power is the God of salvation, and unto Yahweh belongeth the issues from death. When you look in the other, in the New King James or the NLT, other versions like that, it says, and unto Yahweh belongeth deliverance from death, right? Here it says, unto Yahweh belongeth the issues from death. He saves you from death. He delivers you from death, right? That's spiritually, because like we read in Proverbs 21 and 16, there's people that wandered out of the way of understanding, and they're in the congregation of the dead. They're spiritually dead already. They ain't coming back from that grave, right? But also in Jacob's trouble to come, the only thing that's going to keep us safe and deliver us from that is the Most High, right? And how does that come? As a matter of fact, I'm going to finish with my ribs. Favorite scriptures, just to finish it out strong. Matthew 10. Okay, I see the verse you posted out. I'm going to read it right now. At the end, the water for the edification, King, Devon, Ray, Khan. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. You know, seeing the things that have been going on lately, the Most High just put the spirit on me to say, you know what, every Friday, whether you're observing Sabbath or not, right? It's like it says in Colossians, I'm not going to judge you by which Sabbath you're keeping. You just need to be fully persuaded in your own mind. That's what the scriptures say. It says not to judge anybody in the observance of a holy day or Sabbath. Whether you're observing Sabbath today or not, I still got love for you if you're trying to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. I'm observing Sabbath right now. If you are, Shabbat Shalom. If you're not, Shalom, right? I'm glad it was edifying. Khan, all praise to the Most High. So I'm going to end it with 2nd Ezra's. And like I said, I'm every Friday between 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I'm going to start it Central Time, right? Because I'm in Texas. Just for those of y'all who don't know. So this is 2nd Ezra's chapter 16 and verse 74. Hear, O ye my beloved. Who are the Most High's beloved? Those that love him. He said, I love them that love me, right? How do you love the Most High? By keeping his commandments. Okay. So hear, O ye my beloved, saith Yahweh. Behold, the days of trouble are at hand. What are the days of trouble? Jacob's trouble. If you haven't read about it, read 2nd Ezra 15 and 16. Read Jeremiah chapter 13 or chapter 30, Salakia, Jeremiah 30. Read Isaiah 13. There's many other ones, but those are a good place to start. I have a couple of lessons on it as well on here. It says, but But I'm gonna read it again. Hear, O ye, my beloved, saith Yahweh, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Okay, the Most High is gonna deliver his beloved from the days of trouble. Okay, I know there's some certain brothers out there that teach, I hope I die in Jacob's trouble. I hope I die for the Most High. And you know what? That may be their lot, right? Maybe the Most High is putting the Spirit on them to say that. Maybe they're speaking, maybe life and death is in the power of the tongue. And because that's what they want, that's what's going to happen, right? But I also know that Yahweh Shai said this, right? This is Luke 21:36. Watch ye therefore and pray always. Watch and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. So this is something that me and my household pray for daily, right? That we're accounted worthy to make it through all these things that are going to come to pass and stand before our Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, right? Because me, especially as a family man, I don't want to see my family die, right? So that's something we pray for daily and are working towards daily, right? So it says, but I will deliver you from the same. Verse 75, 2nd Ezra 16:75. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh is your God. So first he says, I'm going to deliver you if you don't doubt, because you have to believe that the Most High is your guide, right? Because like in Hebrews 11:6, it says, without faith, it is impossible to please him. You have to have faith you can make it through this thing, right? You have to have faith that he's going to guide you. Verse 76, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith Yahweh, right? So you keep the laws, statutes, and commandments, but also keeping the precepts to the best of your ability, right? Because I know some brothers and sisters, I'll tell them, hey, well, this, that. I'll try to correct them with scriptures. Hey, sis, hey, brother, I'm just reaching out to give you these precepts because I saw this. And, you know, I care about you. I'm doing this out of a spirit of love, right? And they'll say, well, what law is that, Ak? Show me that in the Torah, right? Or you're not my head. You're not my husband, right? And right then, I know, okay, they're hardening their face, right? Like we just read in Proverbs 21. So I'm just going to say, okay, I was just telling you out of the spirit of love, shalom, right? So it says, and the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith Yahweh, let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift themselves up. Your sins will weigh you down, right? And that's why I always say, like it says in Acts 2:38, right? Like it says in Acts 2:38, you got to get remission of sins. How do you get remission of sins? By being baptized physically in the Hebrew names in water, right? So with that, I'll go ahead and close it with that. Let me see. Con. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. I'm glad it was edifying to at least a few of y'all, right? I had a question. Check your DM. Con. I'll check. I'll get back to you tomorrow. It's about to be 2 a.m. here. Probably gonna eat something real quick and I'm gonna crash out. But I'll get back to you tomorrow, right? So yeah, I'm glad it was edifying to a few of y'all. Like always, all praise to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Shabbat Shalom and Shabbat Shalom to all of y'all keeping the Sabbath. If you're not, either way, Shalom, peace and blessings to y'all's house. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. That is blessings to all of y'all. I hope y'all have a good Sabbath and stay in the spirit. Continue to strive for perfection, right? To strive for perfection, right? Shalom.